Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Former Education CS Professor George Magoha died at the age of 71 at Nairobi Hospital. Nairobi Hospital CEO James Nyamongi, in a statement, said Magoha had fainted at his home following a heart attack, and when he was taken to the hospital, it was confirmed that he had passed away. His body has been taken to the Lee Funeral Home. Professor Walter Manna is Professor Magoha's friend.
I was in a clinic at the Kenyatta National Hospital. I was seeing a patient, and I called a colleague to take over. I rushed to my car, and as I was driving away from Kenyatta about 4 kilometers, she called again and asked me whether I had a blood pressure machine. I told her I would get one. I rushed back to my clinic, got a blood pressure machine. As I was about 4 kilometers to the home, she SMS and asked me whether I could get an ambulance. I was too close to home, their home. There was a traffic jam. They drove right to the home. At the gate, I met some attendants who rushed me in. I met the son at the door who rushed me straight to where he was. He was seated actually. He greeted me and said, "Oh, you have come." Then I said to take the blood pressure. It was not recording. At that time, he slipped off from his sitting position and we carried him to the car. He went into a car and the wife and my driver, we followed. They were ahead of us about 200 meters. They reached about 10 minutes earlier than us. From the information, he had what we call a collapse. He was resuscitated back by the son, who is a medical doctor, and then 100 meters to the casualty of the Nairobi hospital, he collapsed again. Was rushed to casualty. There was resuscitation, which took quite a bit of time, but they were not able to revive him. That was a short message. What I know is that, I must say, he was waiting for me because he had told me some things about his life and his final days, and that has been fulfilled. And I shall continue doing so.
Magoha was the Education CS between March 26th in 2019 and served until October 27th last year, when President William Ruto officially took over the leadership. Recently, Magoha joined Maseno University as a professor in the College of Medicine. Before being appointed as the Minister of Education, Magoha was the chairperson of NEC as well as the Vice Chancellor at the University of Nairobi.
The government of His Excellency William Samoei Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua will make available the money that is due to the basic education sector, as has been the practice. I did not imagine that I would be the one here talking about this, but God is great, I'm here. And therefore, it is our duty to ensure that there is a very smooth transition. If you see me a little bit hyperactive, it is because I want to ensure that nobody messes around. Otherwise, Your Excellency, I do not want to repeat anything except that it has been my privilege to serve. It looks like I've served in the two governments because I served Kenyatta and I'm now serving you. It has been my privilege to serve. And also just to say that from my experience, Your Excellency, working with smaller children is like working with God. Stop confusing the children and scaring them. This examination has not leaked and it shall not leak. First of all, look at me very well. Do I look like a minister for public education? Or am I a minister for education? I'm a cabinet secretary for education. We explain to you in simple English. Dr. Nancy Macharia had said they are coming to prepare schools for a possible reopening at whatever time. Which part of that English don't you understand? So when you find a question that you don't understand, wachana naye.
President William Ruto sent his condolences messages to Magoha's family. The president described Magoha as a leader who dedicated himself to his work and do prioritize education issues. Retired President Uhuru Kenyatta called Magoha a personal friend and a leader who loved to serve his country in different capacities. Likewise, Azimio leader Raila Odinga mourned Magoha, describing him as a Kenyan who loved his country. Our thoughts and prayers to the family and friends. Now, doctors have mourned the death of former Education CS Professor Magoha, terming him as a visionary leader whose contribution to the education and health sectors can be seen. Magoha passed away at the Nairobi Hospital. KMPDU Secretary General Dauji Atela said Magoha worked diligently and was always serious with whatever he did. Speaking at the Lee Funeral Home, KMPDU Deputy Secretary General said the union will continue to pursue the issues that Magoha had been championing for.
As a union, as KMPD, we keep on advocating for what Prof used to teach us. Because Prof used to talk about this mythical Kanyakini Hospital, which when he was the board chair, medical council chair, he said that he wants all hospitals, public or private, big or small, to be able to attend to anybody, VIP or not.
I'm Dennis Aseta. Good morning.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Congratulations. You've seen the hand of the Lord.
Thank you very much. I've earned another title today this morning at SpiceFM. Mama Justice, I don't mind it.
Joel in Kericho.
Salama sana Heri, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama bwana, mambo namna gani?
Salama kabisa bro.
Mambo ya Inamoi kuliendaje?
Mambo ya Inamoi, vile nilikwambia ndugu yangu, alienda asubuhi na ile gari ya kwanza.
I must have missed it.
So did I.
Even if somebody was to render you irrelevant, there is still work you can do.
Okay, sawa.
I deserve to keep you accountable. You deserve to give me a report. You don't work for me. No, I don't work for you. You work for me.
Do you like that Freudian slip? Lovely, isn't it? Thank you very much.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning and welcome to Wednesday. What does it look like? Well, it looks like traffic is starting to build up in certain parts of the city, but still open in most. Jogo Road is where we'll see some traffic coming past the train station, heading out towards the city stadium. There's a little bit that's building up on Mombasa Road, but again, nothing too headache causing. Will look like traffic will build up maybe a half hour or so. Coming off the Thika Superhighway, we're starting to see some action as you get out towards that dip. I'm also just past the Garden City Mall Junction. Coming out of Westlands looks pretty good as well. You can get out of Wayaki Way onto Kuna Road without too much of an issue, at least not for now. Let's see how the morning pans out. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
.9 SpiceFM, Mombasa. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This
Good morning.
is the Situation
How are you
Room,
doing? Welcome
the
to
only
Wednesday,
way to start your day
of January 2023. Hello, how are you doing? Ndu? Habari ya leo?
Nzuri.
Kabisa? Ama kidogo?
Nzuri.
Nzuri. Ni njema.
Oh, you say
Ni
njema.
vyema pia kukuona. You say mzuri is okay.
Okay.
Habari ni mzuri. Hakuna wasiwasi. Sisi tuliwe na mtu yoyote.
Si mwaka.
Hii mwaka. We refuse those things.
Qatar.
We refuse those things.
To make Qatar.
City.
Where iko aje?
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Safi sana.
Let me ask you a question.
Ask.
In Swahili.
And it has to be a question.
When you refer to someone, do you say huyu?
Yes. As opposed to
when you say he mutu, when you say he mutu, it's like you're saying a thing.
Yes, you are.
Okay. So when the deputy president says he mutu, is that supposed to be derogatory or it's just, in the middle of conversation?
It's Kenyanese.
It's Kenyanese?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not necessarily derogatory.
Wewe unaona kama hii watu kuna mahali atapeleka sisi.
What do you think that is?
Wewe ukiangalia.
Hii watu.
Hii mtu ni ya kwenda na kunini.
Hii mtu ya kuongea tu kutoka hapa kwenda pale, kutoka hapa. Tata tisha hapana.
Hawezi.
Hapana.
Okay, thank you. My knowledge of her has been increased on this day. Thank you very much. Hii meza ni baridi.
Nika kusema tu hii mambo.
Okay. Sawa. Thank you very much.
Fakua haya mambo. Ati wewe City uko salama?
Mimi, all right. Why don't you continue the same vein? Mimi iko salama.
Wewe iko safi sana.
Or should I say sisi iko salama?
Very good.
City and all of you inside there.
Very good.
How are you, Eric?
Me, I'm well.
Fantastic.
Yes. Let me tell you what we'll be discussing today. So, there's a case in court. Remember, there's a whole issue of when people are registering afresh with their SIM cards. And then some people have gone to court and said, wait a minute, these guys are asking us for all these details. My bank account details. They're saying, oh, they will have access to my bank account details. They'll have access to, I don't know, my KRA PIN.
Yes.
They'll have access to...
What?
What do you mean? What kind of data am I giving them? Not only that, how much of your personal data is out there? Left, right, and center with very many people.
Unbeknownst to
government, non-government agencies, those telcos, banks, SACCO,
some of these apps that
pension
have give us permission to know this. Give us permission to control what?
Yes.
What?
And it's all going there.
No.
Accept the terms and conditions. Tick the box and say yes.
Yes, and then
what's the privacy of the data that you actually are giving them? And should they be collecting all that data? Well, we have data protection laws in this country, and we want to understand where does it begin, where does it end? The person who has been given the mandate by law to protect our data and to look at how our data is collected and kept is the data commissioner. Her name is Immaculate Kasait. Immaculate will be joining us at 7 a.m. and she'll be telling us how far she's going in enforcing data protection laws in Kenya. We'll ask her several questions about that. So that you go into a hotel somewhere and they tell you, let ID, they do a photocopy. What are they doing? What? How much information should you give them? And all that. So that we'll be having a conversation about that at 7. At 8, we talk about the state of the media in the country. So we know that media has been going through some turbulent times. So there's the legacy media, which is traditional media, and then there's new media, which is digital media. Are they at par in terms of facing their realities, or are they not? The Director of Media Training and Development at the Media Council of Kenya, Victor Bwire, will be joining us at 8 a.m. for that discussion. Keep it here for that and more. Ndu?
Yes.
Kenya has achieved COVID-19 herd immunity.
Yes. You know Dr. Moth?
The one who's still acting. Is he still acting?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you in just a minute.
Huh? He's still acting Director General of Health and all those things.
Acting Director General for Health, Patrick Amoth, and several other researchers say Kenya achieved herd immunity mainly through natural infections because people are fully vaccinated against the disease. So even those of you who are not fully vaccinated, you are fully vaccinated. Okay? Yeah. Kenya achieved herd immunity early last year, despite low levels of vaccination. Herd immunity is achieved when more than 70% of the population develops protection against the disease, either through vaccination or infection. So they're saying, essentially, that 70% of Kenya's population has fallen into these two brackets, all right? Either been fully vaccinated or having gotten the disease, come in contact with it. And so now Kenya has achieved herd immunity because they can see from the numbers of folks who have been vaccinated or folks who have gotten COVID. So they're saying this is why it is difficult to spread the disease anymore, or rather, this is why it becomes difficult for the disease to spread anymore within the community, because herd immunity has been achieved. He said, despite vaccine inequity, hesitancy and refusal, herd immunity had been achieved in Kenya and likely other African countries by early 2022, with natural infections likely contributing to most of this immunity. So people naturally got infected, and usually once you get infected, hard for you to get it again. Those ones we see that somebody got COVID the second time is a rarity. Okay, they say that vaccine campaigns should be sustained due to the need for the repeat boosters associated with the waning of COVID immunity and the emergence of immune-evading virus variants. So we will see the 1BB and the great-grandchild of the original strain coming about. So he says that is what the vaccine is going to protect you against. So that's why it's important to get vaccinated in case you haven't, so to protect you from the coming strains of which the veracity and danger we do not know. Sawa. Okay. Ministry of Health says in the last 24 hours that 6 people have tested positive from a sample size of 427, just under 1%. Rather, just over 1%, just under 2%. And that's what it looks like in Kenya. The story that's coming off the BBC this morning concerning COVID in China is that coffins sell out as losses mount. The coffin makers of northern Shanxi province have been busy. They watch a skilled craftsman as they carve elaborate decorations into freshly cut wood. Recent months, they say they have had no time to stop. One villager, a customer, said that at times coffins have sold out. Laughing with a dose of the black humor you find in the area, he said, actually, we've been earning a small fortune, and these have come about as a result of the many COVID deaths that they've realized in the last few months. Over 80% of the population, we're told, which is more than 1 billion people, according to these numbers, have been infected with COVID since, now this is where I'm a bit cautious, but according to this story, since China scrapped restrictions in December, over 1 billion people have gotten COVID in China, is what they're trying to tell us. So between December and now, as we are speaking to you,
it's likely
1 billion people have gotten COVID. Last weekend, China reported 13,000 COVID-related deaths in less than a week, adding to the 60,000 deaths it counted since December. So deaths have been in hospitals, in rural areas where there are hardly any medical facilities. Those have not been able to be counted. Those who die at home have not been counted. So these numbers are coming from official health or medical facilities where people have died.
Wow.
So this story is looking at how coffin makers have had to beat the clock to provide for the dead. That's what it looks like with COVID this morning.
Alrighty, 18 minutes after 6. Are you online? Because we are live streaming the show on YouTube and Facebook. Let us know where you're tuned in from. And you know what we will do? We'll acknowledge your presence shortly after we take a look at the weather forecasts.
This is 00 Direct, woman host, music by women and only women guests.
Everything is so larger than life. You kind of have to have a good understanding of who you are. You could easily lose yourself.
We have a global approach in the programs that we put together, meaning that it's not just about refining my business, it's about refining the industry. It's about touching the youth and making sure that in totality, change actually happens.
Catch 00 Direct every Saturday from 10 a.m.
Only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Looking at partly cloudy conditions this morning in Nairobi at 17, highs of 27 and lows of 15. It's clear at 13 in Nakuru, highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 27 in a mostly clear Nyeri at 10. It's 11 and clear in Eldoret, highs of 25, and we'll see lows of 11. Partly cloudy conditions at 25 in Mombasa, highs of 32, and it'll go to highs of 31 in a mostly cloudy Malindi at 26. Looking into Kisumu, it's 19 and clear, highs of 30 and lows of 18, and Kakamega is clear at 14, going to highs of 32 and lows of 14. Looking out into Kampala, clear cloudy conditions at 21, highs of 28, and it'll go to highs of 32 in a partly cloudy Dar es Salaam at 27. It's 15 and clear in Johannesburg, highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 33 in a partly cloudy Lagos at 26. It's 23 and cloudy in Kinshasa, highs of 29 and lows of 22. Looking into a sunny Beijing, which is -8. This morning, rather into afternoon in Beijing, highs of -4 and lows of -13. It's cloudy in Paris at 2, highs of 3 and lows of 0. And already 0 in London with a haze over London skies, highs of a 5 and lows of 0. Looking into New York, still Tuesday night, it's partly cloudy at 4, highs of 7 and lows of 0 coming into Wednesday.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice.
Let us know who's online.
Oh, quite a number of people online. Don Sabwa says, good morning. I kindly pass condolences to Professor Magoha, his family. May his soul rest in peace, indeed. May the family be strong at this trying moment, especially having lost their brother just a few days ago. Amimo Vin says, good morning. One of the shows is missing every day. Allah? What are you saying?
What?
I don't understand.
Okay.
So, but good morning. We see you. We mwega rusheni. Something about morning. What does that mean? I know rusheni is morning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or the day.
It's morning.
It's morning. What are the other words?
Mwega. Are you good?
Okay.
Good morning, basically.
Voila.
The whole story is good morning.
The whole story.
That whole paragraph.
Okay. Okay. Amimo Vin says, good morning. Gaspar Ramadan says, Uzalamukadze. Yay! We heard that.
Zalamuka. Umeamkaje.
Umeamkaje. I remember that.
Tunajibu Zalamuka.
Sindo?
I have woken.
I have woken. All right. Atiano Jermaine Jackson says, good morning. Oyaore. Hey, everybody's speaking language this morning.
Kabisa. How do you say good morning in your language? That's a question this morning.
That's the question this morning.
Yep.
All right.
Oyaore.
Oyaore.
It has opened up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Indeed.
That's what it means?
Yes. Yao is to open.
The morning has opened. Okay. Umazi Mwachiti says, ututu omandu na utu. And I'm geminti. Yeah, okay, Omari. Hey, he has even called me Omalicha.
Kabisa.
I'm telling you.
Hey.
It's spoken in my language. Very good.
Ututu oma.
I can see
what
all
does ututu oma mean?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Ututu is morning.
Ututu oma.
Oma is good or beautiful.
You said kitutu means?
Ututu.
Oh, sorry.
Ututu oma is good morning.
Good morning.
Morning good.
Ututu chache and ututu masaba.
Oma is a beautiful thing. Like my name now. My middle name is Ifo Oma.
So, ututu omandu.
Okay,
na utu.
And I'm geminti.
All right.
And I'm a geminti is I'm listening to you. Or rather, I've given you my ear.
Hey. Safsana.
Isn't it?
Safsana.
Nigerian is a very good language.
Right.
Nigerian, I mean. Bwakire. Hey, Bwakire. Where is Ednah? Bwakire. Okay, everybody's okay. Luke Ochele from Kisumu Dala enjoying the show. Good morning. Hey. Zachary Gikonyo has used many accents here.
Thank you.
Good
morning, all of you guys.
Hey, he says, guys, on the death of Professor Magoha, I am sad. Indeed. I'm truly bereaved because Kenya has lost a fine brain. We were not ready for his abrupt and soon departure. Scientists can expedite the very science of brain cloning. Okay. Zachary's tuning from Gatondo South. Mwangi says Uhoro okay, no, this is a different spelling.
Uhoro Arushine.
It's the same thing. Wamkata ata. Okay.
Wamukata. Nikikamba.
Yeah, that's what
Namukanesa.
Yeah, I worked in Ndalani. Anyway, moving forward. Huyu Eric kulala sangapi?
Kulala ni kufanya nini?
Kulala kwa kitanda. Kulala sangapi?
What's that?
Alikuona saa hii tu alafu akaanza kuona tena.
So kulala ni?
Niliona mtu kama yeye usiku kwenye runinga. Good morning guys. Victor is asking.
Shouldn't we be asking that person where?
Okay. Mwenye anakuona.
Alikuwa amelala.
Okay, Amos Freeman, Kimilili Yaskiza Vyema, good morning to you. Another Rushini, good morning. No good morning, but we ask how you slept. Oh, Toshile, I love it. In the Sesotho language of Lesotho, Paulina Mokutu is listening this morning. Oh, I wish I knew how to pronounce that. Oh, Sile Juang. Okay, another one of Lamkadze Wamukata Oriena is what now? Subaks Waxgan. A lot coming in this morning. We can't get to all of you, but we see you. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morningi.
Good morning, Kilamutu. City.
Yes.
How do you say good morning in Angolan?
Yes.
It will be Portuguese.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Asante sana.
Thank you.
A proverb perhaps?
Yeah.
From Angola maybe?
Okay.
One who throws a stone forgets. One who is hit remembers.
One who throws a stone forgets. One who is hit remembers. Okay.
Bom dia.
What?
Bom dia.
That's the Portuguese for good morning.
Yeah. Dia is day. Bom, good, same thing, I guess. Bon in French.
Good day.
Bom in Portuguese. Bueno or buena in Spanish.
So bon dia.
Bom.
Bom.
Bom dia.
Bom.
Stop it. Just stop it. Stop it.
Bom dia.
Yes, when we're having his beginning of fun.
No.
Sio bon dia.
Nasio bandia.
Nasio bandia.
Nasio bandika.
Nasio bandika. Okay, let's look at the newspaper headlines, shall we? What's on the front page of Mpatia Star?
Star?
I wouldn't know what to do with it.
No,
do you know where the front, the right corner, the one which is
right
blue?
Corner story.
Yeah?
Believe me, there are very many interesting things.
Give City the paper back.
I don't understand.
So your guys were not there with the Nation?
No, the Nation was available this morning. And if the Nation isn't available...
The
Business Daily is also not available.
Yes.
Hiya.
That's simple.
Can you imagine such a thing?
But I have East Africa.
Of course you do. It's Wednesday, but no problem. After all, it's a weekly edition. Just so that we're talking about this week, Abby. The week of June.
The headline is still the same.
January 23rd.
So, what's on the Standard?
On the front page of the Standard, the guitarist who became minister, looking at the unfortunate passing of Professor George Albert Omore Magoha, 1952 to 2023. It was a tough thing to hear yesterday. And looking at his life and times, we'll look a little bit into that later. Trade CS warns principals on uniforms cartel. Stop it, is what he's saying. You guys have turned this thing into a business at the expense of parents and students. We'll look at those stories as well. And then Chebukati was spilling some beans yesterday on the push to change poll results. And he let us know some very interesting things yesterday. And the Treasury is set out the plan to sell parastatals. Abby?
Okay.
And then there's a church.
Wanauza ngapi?
Ngoja nitakwambia baadaye.
Okay.
But the church, or grand church, where the sick are chained. Really, really bothersome story there.
The church where the sick are chained.
Are chained.
Wow.
Those are some of the stories making the headlines in the Standard.
Okay. City, what's on the Star?
Right. Life and times of former education CS Professor Magoha. big, bold picture that captures the persona of the individual very, very clearly. Just look.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Tragedy, controversial college dorm collapsed at home and rushed to city hospital. Of course, everyone and the auntie has had everything to say about it. Socially, people
are saying things.
Well, not negative. It's all positive. People have a lot of things to say. I mean, and everything that I've read so far is positive. Yes, the things he did, the achievements that can be attributed to him, what it is that he did that is remarkable, the changes he brought about. Yes, this is one life that didn't just go unnoticed.
Yeah.
This is one individual who distinctly and definitively made an impact.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And it's a good thing that he's gone after having made an impact, having contributed to the highest level of government. It's a good thing. Good thing for him. Let's take a break. It's 6:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. This is a Situation Room online and on radio. We want to take a look at the traffic and then we will look at those stories in detail.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Yolanda Mulo and DJ Absolute. When the gang is together, you know it's
Sugar and Spice.
Great vibes, conversations, a lot of humor. I like to say we don't give an F, we give 3 Fs.
You and I are in this relationship, so it is me to tell you who we are.
When you ask a chick, how many guys have you been with? She's like, including you. If it's fun, it's funky, it's fresh, you're definitely going to catch it here. I don't know what you do every day from 11 a.m. to 3 o'clock. If I were you, I'd tune in to SpiceFM 94.4.
I want you on my team.
So does everybody else.
Yeah. All right. So half an hour into the hour, rather 30 minutes into the hour, we'll be looking at what has changed on the streets. Still a little bit of traffic coming off of Mombasa Road. It'll take you past Cabanas and then out towards Imara Daima, that drift, and then through to General Motors, out towards the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. Until then, you will not have a problem. It's going to slow down just a tad as you're heading out towards the Haile Selassie Junction, but nothing too painful, at least not for now. Gong Road is moving along slowly, chugging along traffic as you get to that City Mortuary roundabout, and it's going to touch on traffic all the way through till you come to that Haile Selassie Junction as well. Coming off of Jogo Road is okay. It's moving slowly, but then you get onto Landis where it's also moving pretty well as well. You're going to get into the city without too much of an issue. What's happening on the Thika Superhighway? A little bit of traffic just at that Utali drift. Beyond that, you should be okay. Traffic coming in from Clayworks out through towards the Safari Park Hotel is moving for now. You're probably going to want to use the service lanes later because it will pack up. Let's take a look in about half an hour and see what it looks like. What's happening where you are? SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
27. Where do you want to start?
Man. Okay, so let me start with this uniform things because, I mean, we're still in throes of it.
Yeah.
A lot of folks are taking their kids to school this week, going into next week, and we still see the Form 1s until at least the 6th of February going to school. The CS for Trade, Moses Courier, has said school heads should not ask parents to buy uniforms from their institutions or to acquire them from specific shops. You know what's going on? Is that school uniforms, that practice largely has been that any uniform outlet has the mandate from schools to then have their uniforms produced in bulk for sale. So you should be able to walk into, any major school outfitters outlet and get your uniform. What has been happening is that some schools then have taken that from these shops and said that there's only one supplier then for uniforms. They can then set a premium on the price and you have no choice but to buy it from said supplier because after all, the uniform is mandatory. So it's either you buy the uniform from the school and they can set whatever price they want, or they tell you Eric is our supplier. If you do not buy from him, you do not have uniform, and we know you must have uniform to do what? To come to school. Now, Moses Courier says, stop it. It is over. Go back to the way it used to be, because you guys are using this thing to get money from parents and families. It is enough. He said parents and guardians should be allowed the freedom of buying uniforms at their preferred shops. And he said the government will soon send out a circular to school heads warning them, not asking them, not having a conversation, warning them from selling school uniforms or asking parents to buy from specific shops. He was speaking in his office in Nairobi, where he said schools should not sell uniforms at exorbitant prices. And I quote, "We held discussions with Education CS Ezekiel Machogu and Basic Education Principal Secretary Belio Kipsang and agreed that Kenyans should be given the opportunity to produce and sell uniforms as a way of promoting the bottom-up economic growth model."
But is that really the whole story?
What is the story, City? What other angle do you see?
Schools have no business selling uniform, he said.
I see several angles, actually. Go ahead and do.
He said schools have no business selling school uniforms since they don't have sewing machines and tailors. We want to get rid of the cartels, and we've been colluding with school principals, who have been colluding with school principals to sell the uniforms at exorbitant prices.
You see, what's being presented here is an outcome of something that started off as being very positive. Part of the reason why many schools insisted on providing the uniforms was for that purpose, uniformity.
Absolutely.
And also the economies of scale. If the school ordered the uniform, you are likely to get it cheaper. Because you come to school, everybody gets the same uniform. There's no issue of diversity. It's the same.
Good logic.
Yes. But however, it is clear this particular good thing over the years got corrupted.
Completely.
However, now, when it comes to the choices of where to go to get uniforms, again, the option is allow parents to even make their own uniform. Allow them to go to the local tailor to make the uniform. And the argument always was, are you sure you are going to get the distinctive and the specific color that is required? I was the chairman of the board of management where we allowed people to get uniform as they saw fit.
Rangi ni gani? White na blue. What was the uniform?
White na blue.
What's the uniform?
Yes, it was white and blue. Blue. You got blue.
Yeah.
You got cyan, you got azure, you got royal blue, sky
but it's blue.
Yeah.
Navy blue. Borani?
Blue.
It is blue. You see now, you don't really mind because at the end of, and even some of when you find the blouse or the shirt, okay, you are not sure whether it is beige or whether it is the washing process that has given it that hue. You're not certain, okay? But what you will find is a nice kaleidoscope of colors when it comes to the uniform.
Rainbow.
Yes, now, you if you're willing to ignore that, then it's okay. But the thinking and the logic behind uniforms
is for uniformity.
Yes,
you can understand.
From time immemorial.
You can understand that. And the thing is then, should school administrations then give you the proper Pantone and say it's blue and this is the Pantone of blue. Go and bring this one.
Probably they should, because if you know the blue,
then you go. Kiraka and
go.
Pimanisha.
Yes.
There are patches to the story because look, there's some schools till date, like the alliances and stuff, you don't buy uniform. As they give you your thing, whatever, you're getting it from the school, right? They've been able to keep the prices low and all of this so that you can it becomes still part of what you're coming to school with. But I can see what the CS is talking about here, and that is the truth, that some schools, unfortunately, have corrupted the process and have then, by saying what he's saying without saying it, is that some people have been given tenders.
It's cartels.
To provide.
Yeah.
And the prices become exorbitant.
Yep.
2 PET.
And in very many cases, you'll find a middleman.
Yes.
So the person who's actually been given the tender to supply a uniform does not run a textile company.
No.
Okay?
Takes it to another guy over here.
Goes to a guy somewhere and says, Nishone.
100 pieces, your shirts are white.
Naweke badge. Itakuwa how much? Sawa. Put my markup.
Put your 500 shillings on top.
Then it goes. So by the time, as a parent, you're buying that, it has passed through 3 different hands and 3 different markups.
This is what
including the school heads.
Absolutely.
Sasa, you've seen you kora.
Kabisa. Criminal.
But you know something? The statement that have been made, these are the strong words and strong statements that the leadership make on such issues. Now, we're talking about the cost of uniforms and the rising costs of education in general. Okay? So, let's break this down. If people are told to go to school with whatever clothes they can afford to wear when they go to school, I'm just putting across an argument. Would parents still have a problem with taking children to school? My answer is yes, because fees. Now, someone said, but they don't pay fees. Actually, that's not entirely true. What am I getting at? I'm saying the education sector, yes, what the CS is pointing out to needs pointing out to. Statements need to be made, but apart from the statement, what exactly is the government doing to ensure that the learning of students is something parents can afford with ease? What is it? Because that's the whole conversation, if you ask me. Not the uniform. That's the whole. Uniform is just part of the conversation.
I agree. I agree fully. And just like there was a guest that we had here in the studio the other day, and he was talking about, or she, I don't remember, talking about this bursary story and asking, so the government is giving you money so that you can pay school fees in a public school.
Yes. So the government gives you money so that you can give it money.
Yeah.
So why not just zero-rate it?
Why not just give the money, send money directly to school? Because the government is sending money to schools anyway.
Eric, you see, my friend, have just hit the thing on the button. You know why? When it comes to uniforms, why don't they just do the same?
Do the same.
So that you control the price of uniform. You see, folks, like we control fuel. Your margin is this. You understand?
Yes.
Okay? So we'll be paying you. You make sure the schools get uniform. What stops them from doing that? Then you'd say, oh, they'll be interfering with the commercials. How is it that with fuel, we have all these independent marketers, people who actually ensure that they retail fuel?
Yes.
The principle has been applied and we see how it works. If the government is genuinely serious, why is it that they're not taking the steps? Because they have the money to do so. Why aren't they taking those steps?
So contract Kikotech and others like that.
Yes, people who actually manufacture the material. Then ask yourself, okay, there are all these people who are retail outlets. How do you include them in this? Again, we have an example to follow when we look at the oil industry. Why not that?
Think beyond just the obvious.
No, think beyond big statements and huge statements and sweeping statements.
Yeah. There's a circular that's been sent to schools or to this effect that, stop asking people to buy school fees from a specific shop. But then, well, okay. So the sad story here of the passing on of Professor George Magoha yesterday, from an accidental artist in Nairobi's Eastlands to a top urological surgeon and a tough academic administrator, Magoha's uncompromising approach saw him become one of the country's most memorable education ministers ever. He exited the stage yesterday, aged 71. Siti, you're saying, what's the Star saying about that? What's the Star story on Magoha?
The Star story is actually full of praise. All right? See, the no-nonsense administrator dies at 71 after a long, illustrious career. Okay? They narrate his story, how he actually went and studied medicine, in Nigeria, the Lagos University Teaching Hospital. And he did his internship, his initial years as a doctor, then came to Nairobi, the University of Nairobi in 1988, and he became a full professor in the year 2000. It's a chronicle, giving details of how it is. He rose, talks about his family life, his wife.
Luth has a set in the medicine course actually called the Magoha set. Luth is the Lagos University Teaching Hospital. So I thought that was interesting.
It's called the Magoha set.
It's called the Magoha set.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
life and times of the man. He apparently collapsed at his home at around 5 p.m. And by the time he was getting to hospital, he had collapsed about 4 times. So while getting to hospital, then he succumbed as the doctors were attempting to resuscitate him. The thing is, from even the friend who spoke to the media and the family, saying what had happened at home, he collapsed the first time. He said, all right, told the wife, please call our son and our daughter-in-law, please call our friend, let them come. They were called and they got home. He was okay. He collapsed again. was again okay. And then they try to rush him to hospital. It brings to the fore something that Andrew Franklin is also raising. They were rushing him to hospital, in different vehicles and all trying to get there. It was an emergency. The issue of emergency response. So this is somebody who was senior in government, not currently senior, but has been senior in government, has been senior in the medical world, has been senior in academia. But when it comes to an emergency response was wanting in just getting to hospital in good time.
Who knows what would have happened if he did?
It's tragic in this sense. Somebody who's had such an illustrious career in a field that he studied and excelled in, you see, this is it. Some of the people who are probably attending to him are people he taught.
Yep.
And some of the people who rushed there were his colleagues, people he worked with. Now, must we have tragedies before we understand the need to have certain things put in place? The story we talked about with regards to cancer, did we need to have the former governor of Bomet passing away before this story now became something that people need to understand and measures need to be taken by the government?
And still no measures. Well, measures are being taken, but
it's actually in the hands of private practitioners. So, again, Andrew Franklin is right.
It raises very serious questions about, so what kind of emergency response do we have? Yeah? Aye.
The thing, though, when someone this illustrious passes away, it highlights a problem that has been there for the longest time. It shines a very, very bright light on it.
Yeah. The thing is that it's not the first time something like this has happened.
No.
When we've seen other people pass, when you talk about,
accidents on the highways and such kind of things.
The hope would be, it's unfortunate that somebody's life had to end. Then now the light is shown on this issue. But then the hope would be that when we see these things happen in this manner, that something is done about those situations. But unfortunately, it very rarely is. The moment of grief and mourning will pass, and then the thought of any other action passes with the moment.
If you look at the statements that have been made, the things that have been said, the measures that were spoken of as being what was purposed to ensure that the change we keep talking about actually does become a reality. Those statements are never lacking. Okay? But as to concretizing it so that you actually find that in a situation similar to this one, that it doesn't happen again. We had Mrs. Helen Kaisari here.
Yeah.
Her husband collapsed.
Yep.
Again,
he was a sitting minister.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same thing. The first thing that she was doing is, calling her house help, calling the APs at the gate, and that's what they were dealing with, and calling the neighbor who happens to be a doctor, and the doctor happens not to have been at home at that point. Now, surely. And yet, they are not far from the current hospital.
No, they are not far from the current hospital. That is it. They are not. They are not. So it does bring into question, and it shines a very bright spotlight on our emergency response.
Yeah. God, it does.
Doesn't it? And it's not just our emergency response when it comes to health matters. It's our emergency response to disasters.
Yep.
It's our emergency to fires.
Fallen buildings.
We
schools.
do not have a policy.
Yes.
We don't have
Food.
a body. We don't have laws that deal with disaster response, emergency response in this country.
No. What we have, a whole slew of people who know how to make statements and talk tough and talk strong about it. And then that's it. It's like when you've spoken, it's been done. Yes. And then you move on until the next disaster. I hope Professor Magoha's death will at least push this particular envelope among the medical fraternity so that they can push, because they are the ones who have the muscle.
They're the ones who have the muscle.
Yes.
Yeah, indeed.
And as for legislation, they have many of their own within the walls of Parliament. This is an agenda that they must push. Yes.
Let me take you to India.
Okay.
There is a town in India that is sinking. What are you thinking about?
Touche.
Hundreds of people have been evacuated from Josimath, a Himalayan town which has been slowly sinking into the ground in India. The BBC spoke to experts to understand if the town could be saved. Chief Minister of Uttarakhand state, where Josimath is located, says about 25% of the town's area has been affected by the subsidence. The town has 25,000 residents, around 4,500 buildings spread over 2.5 square kilometers, and more than 800 buildings have developed cracks. Authorities are demolishing the unsafe ones. It doesn't look like the subsiding areas of Josimath, which comprises settlements, houses and constructions, will survive, says a geologist. There are no obstacles down the slope to prevent the subsidence, and there should have been multiple obstacles, he says, referring to the lack of green cover in the area. So this town was built on the debris of a landslide triggered by an earthquake, and it's located in a tremor-prone zone. It frequently witnesses landslides, which have weakened the soil. So experts are saying this town is going to continue sinking until it reaches some level ground, and then it will stop. By that time, it's probable that the entire town will have been destroyed.
Are people moving?
Now they are being evacuated.
No.
Because 800 houses have cracks.
Yeah.
25% of the town is already sunk. It's just going. We need just one more tremor.
And boom.
And boom. Tell us.
Where? There is a pastor or a guy called John Pesa.
John Pesa?
John Pesa.
Uh-huh.
He is the warden or the pastor of the... he's the father. Let's call him, he's the father. Okay? The church is called Coptic Holiness, and it sits on prime land in Kisumu. Now, there is a big white cross in the ground behind the church. To the left is a lonely grave. Nobody knows who's buried in that grave. But here in this church, the members worship who?
Pesa.
John Pesa. When they're coming into the church, they leave their shoes at the door and they crawl to greet him. It's not a lie, true story. He has employed a number of youth to met out what they're calling atrocities on people who have come to the church for healing. And we're talking about atrocities of beating. We're talking about atrocities of what they're calling staying in pain for hours, being denied food, all in the name of healing. And what is more, that they've been shackled at their wrists and their ankles.
How do they end up there, these people?
Okay.
Who are being held? Is it against their will, or is it?
The majority of those who are being held in chains have been brought by their relatives or, concerned members of the community as unwell folk. Some of them with psychological issues, others with physiological ailments. They are brought to John Pesa because he's said to be a healer. But now when they are brought into the church, they are now shackled and they are caged. And according to him, this is part of the healing. How this information was found out is that the writers of the story in this team posed as new converts. And of course, as new converts, they were invited into the church to see how things run. Now, there are a number of people who have come in. Some have been arrested and their families didn't know what to do with them, brought them to this church. Others are sick psychologically, they are brought. Others are sick, physical ailments, they are brought here. And apparently, this has been going on for years. Now, they tried to see John Pesa and he got suspicious of those visitors who were coming to see him one day. And he said, actually, I'm not going to see them. I mean, they cannot come into the presence of the Lord.
Them here being the journalists.
Yes.
Yeah.
He said, if you are a visitor in this church and you have come to worship, behave like a visitor. Don't start asking my patients why they are being chained. If you are a spy, do things in order and you'll be respected, even as a spy.
Yeah.
Do things in order. He summoned some of the bound men and he paraded them before the congregation as if to drive the point home. He said, this one is a doctor by profession. He was brought here. This other one was living in America before he was flown here to get healed. This other one here is a district officer in Nairobi before he became mad and is now healed. So according to him, he's healing these folks. And
from all over the world.
Yes.
From all walks of life.
It's a 2-page spread in the Standard about the many things that are going on that can only be described by the journalist of this story as atrocities that are being meted upon Kenyans in the name of healing, but is actually an abrogation of human rights. The man cannot be arrested because what he's doing, according to him, is healing.
Yeah.
And the people who are in chains are not protesting this action.
What? He says chaining of mentally ill patients started during the times of Jesus. Mad people were chained to make them docile. Here we chain them to make them less violent. According to him, all 5 presidents who have led Kenya know of the healing powers in this church.
He also says that whipping of these chained men is the norm. It's normal. They're in chains and they're whipped. It is part of the healing process. Oh my God.
Why?
My friend.
Why? Okay. Now the thing is, it's true that political leadership in this area knows
that this
political leadership in the country knows that this is what happens. It's that thing of striking a balance between there are very many followers who go to his church.
This is the thing. That the people who throng here every weekend.
Yeah. If people are going to the church and they listen to the message and they believe that there's a power of healing, at what point do you now start regulating religion and faith?
Good grief.
It's not just him. There are very many other preachers across the country who call huge crusades, tell people to clean roads and sweep roads
and then
and
slap
wash
them
with
across
blood.
the head and then they,
Yeah, and they say you're healing.
Yeah.
At when does the government come and start saying, no, no.
It's like Paul Kagame who said, excuse me, you will apply. First of all, I want to make... Do you remember what he said? Anybody who says they're running a church or a religious institution, I want to see your theological papers. If you do not have, you will not run. We will shut you down. And this is a guy who says something and follows it up with action. Go and ask the people in Rwanda. In terms of regulation that you're speaking of, it has been properly regulated, even that one.
And Christians will argue. There are those Christians who will say, no, listen. Some of these people teach not because they are educated. Okay? Paul was educated. He taught. But the other disciples were not.
They were not, but they still taught.
The other preachers were not.
And look, even for you, as you from the outside looking in, and you're looking at this thing and it flies in the face of any kind of logic, that you would chain somebody up and then still whip them in the name of healing. There are some who will tell you, yes, it's the way.
Yeah.
The human need for solutions. I'm putting this thing really simply and I'm making it simplistic. And when you throw in the aspect of now religion, you see now you've entered a realm where logic is not supreme. So given someone's desire or need and given the belief that they have, now that belief will allow for all sorts of a myriad of all crazy things to happen, simply in the name of belief. Now that's why within the Christian faith, you have what are referred to by mainstream churches as cults. People who do bizarre things, say even more bizarre things, they practice even more bizarre things. And yet, all these things that I'm referring to have followers. And they can swear to you that they are benefits.
It's true. Look at the man who was leading this huge cult in the US, who got 100 and something people to come into his church at night and inhale this stuff that all found them dead in the morning.
Yep.
They willingly walked into the church.
Yeah.
You get? They did.
Talk about news.
One of the most famous mass murders in our time.
Yeah. And there's nothing much you can do about it. I mean, that's the point. Maybe we should have an open conversation as a Kenyan society and ask ourselves, so to what extent do we want to have faith regulated,
Honestly.
if at all?
Is it necessary to regulate faith?
Is it necessary to actually regulate and see, okay, such people who are saying we are doing this, should they be questioned?
They should. They should. They should. Any religious organization or any faith must be questioned.
Keep it here for more conversations. This is the Situation Room. We'll also be telling you more about how you can own a home from as low as 2.5 million shillings in Kasarani, Nairobi. Good morning. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The former Education CS Professor George Magoha died at the age of 71 at Nairobi Hospital. Nairobi Hospital CEO James Nyamonge, in a statement, said Magoha had fainted at his home following a head attack, and when he was taken to hospital, it was confirmed that he had passed away. His body is at the Lee Funeral Home. Professor Walter Mwanda is Professor Magoha's friend.
There was a traffic jam. They drove right to the home. He was seated actually. He greeted me and said, "Oh, you have come." Then I said to take the blood pressure. It was not recording. At that time, he slipped off from his sitting position and we carried him to the car. He had what we call a collapse. He was resuscitated back by the son, who is a medical doctor, and then 100 meters to the casualty of the Nairobi hospital, he collapsed again. Was rushed to casualty. There was resuscitation, which took quite a bit of time, but they were not able to revive him.
Now, Magoha was the Education CS between March 26th in 2019 and served until October 27th last year, when President William Ruto officially took over the leadership. Recently, Magoha joined Maseno University as a professor in the College of Medicine. Before being appointed as the Minister of Education, Magoha was the chairman of NEC as well as Vice Chancellor at the University of Nairobi. Here are some of the soundbites of Professor Magoha as he served as the Education CS.
The government of His Excellency William Samoei Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua will make available the money that is due to the basic education sector, as has been the practice. I did not imagine that I would be the one here talking about this, but God is great, I'm here. And therefore, it is our duty to ensure that there is a very smooth transition. If you see me a little bit hyperactive, it is because I want to ensure that nobody messes around. It has been my privilege to serve, and also just to say that from my experience, Your Excellency, working with smaller children is like working with God.
Now, President William Ruto sent his condolence messages to Magoha's family. The president described Magoha as a leader who dedicated himself to his work and who prioritized education issues. Retired President Uhuru Kenyatta called Magoha a friend and leader who loved to serve his country in different capacities. Likewise, Azimio leader Raila Odinga mourned Magoha, describing him as a Kenyan who loved his country. Now, members of parliament for the second day snubbed the Mombasa induction retreat despite the government spending approximately 122.4 million shillings for the 2 weeks activity. The MPs walked out of the venue lamenting over the delay in NGCDF funds. Parliamentarians including Babu Owino of Embakasi East blamed the finance CS Njuguna Ndung'u for allegedly ignoring the needs of the people. The CS has been promising the MPs 2 billion shillings a week for the last 2 months.
Today we have decided to call off this meeting. We will not attend a meeting and our constituents are suffering. We want our students to go to school. We want 100 million to give bursaries to our students, and failure to which we will start impeaching people in this house. We don't want to joke with the lives of our students, our people, of the poor in the constituency. It is pure balderdash to come and entertain nonsensical, comical and ridiculous activities being done here while our people are suffering.
Still Matters Education and the Minister of Education has issued a revised 2023 calendar of pre-primary, primary, secondary schools and colleges. PS Bailey Kipsang says first term will run for a duration of 13 weeks and learners will break for a 3-day half term from March 16th to March 19th and then close on April 22nd. He adds that on May 8th, learners will resume the 14 weeks long term 2 with a half-term break from June 29th to July 2nd and then close on August 12th to 27th. After the 2-week holiday, students will resume third term on August 28th up to October 27th. Learners who will not be sitting for their national exams will break for holiday on October 28th to January 8th next year. And it's a sigh of relief for parents after Trade CS Moses Courier warns schools against dictating to parents on which uniform store they should purchase their attire from. Courier said the schools heads should instead focus on providing the best education to pupils.
Our schools are not going to be used as conduits by those people who are used to having it very easy, so that you can have the same people who are supplying me with uniform when I was in class 1 back in 1977. And now, 46 years down the line, are the same people who want to continue with that system. It is unacceptable and it's unsustainable. So we have agreed as government that school uniform is a liberalized business. It is going to create thousands and thousands, if not 10,000s, if not hundreds of thousands of jobs to our people at the bottom of the pyramid.
I'm Dennis Aseta. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
At a few minutes after 7 o'clock, we're looking at traffic building up now proper in many parts of the city on Jogoro. We're looking at in and outbound traffic. It's touching on other parts of the city, well into Eastleigh. The eastern part of the city is now looking jam-packed. Outer Ring is touching on Jogoro Road, yes. Manyanja, Kangundo, that is also starting to pack up. Looking on the other side of things, Gong Road, in and outbound traffic is starting to be a thing now. Let's take a look into Westlands and James Gishuru. In and outbound traffic is terrible. Wow, it actually is. Crossing over towards Wayaki Way and then out towards the north, the Red Hill Link Road, there's an option for you. On Kiambu Road, it's bad. I don't know how many lanes we're at right now, but it's crazy. It's also very busy on the Thika Superhighway coming into the city. We've started early, but it's there. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Talk to us there this morning. Try to keep things moving. Let us know what's going on where you are.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
Is the only way to start your day. Wednesday, the 25th of January 2023, 7 minutes after 7. We're live on SpiceFM, KTN Home, online on YouTube and Facebook, and we are also having conversations on Twitter. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. We have a guest in the studio. She is the data commissioner. We'll be talking about all the data that everybody has about you and how safe it is, and whether you should be giving out all this data, all this information. Her name is Immaculate Kasait. She's the data commissioner. We welcome her the way we welcome all our guests by giving her the day's proverb.
Yes, and our proverbs for this week from the country of Angola. One who throws a stone forgets. However, that's my addition. One who is hit remembers.
One who throws a stone forgets.
Yes.
One who is recipient of the stone.
Yes.
Does not forget.
Yes. The one who holds the hurled stone does not forget. Yes.
They will always remember.
They do.
Madam Immaculate Kasaid, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you. I'm happy you have to have me here today.
That is the hot seat of the situation.
Oh. I hope it's not as hot.
No. We'll make it comfortable for you. I mean, come on. Just listen to that proverb.
Mm-hmm.
We are not throwing stones at you, but even if we do, you'll remember.
Yeah.
What's your translation or interpretation of that proverb?
I think it's very it resonates well. In fact, in the context of data protection, that perhaps people who have stolen our information don't think it's important. But you once, if that information is misused, it's you, the person who is hit, is the one who feels the effect. Yes.
Tell us about the Office of the Data Commissioner. So you were the first person in the Republic of Kenya ever in history to go with the title Data Commissioner. What's that?
Yes, it is. It's an honor, humbling experience, and privileged to be serving Kenyans in a different capacity. And it's been a very humbling experience, I have to say. We started off, I laugh when I tell people I used to drive myself the first few days in office before the chips fell into place.
Because you were the only person in that office.
Yes, literally I was the only person in the office. And hop around looking for offices with the NPS and who are hosted by Communication Authority because and we were very gracious hosts. We missed their hospitality because the office had to operate and really starting from that point of I had to go back to my skills of project management, sitting in my living room trying to come up with what 100 days in the office would look like. And coming from there to today, our own premises at Britam Towers and our own, we are not yet there in terms of staff establishment, our own staff, a budget, a lot of support from Parliament, a lot of our committee and Parliament from National Treasury, a lot of support from different multi-agencies to help us get our staff together, that is public service, a lot of support from the ministry in terms of our initial work, a lot of support from donors like GIZ, the European Union, UK, which helped us with our first strategic plan. So coming from typing my 100 days to today, when we have staff and celebrating our third data protection day, Privacy Day this weekend. It's a great honor, really. I can only say I am privileged to be there at this time. Thank you.
What's the role? What's the job?
The role, we are the police of data. Let me say that. We are a regulator as a data commissioner. Our sole responsibility is to remember that the rights of the data subject under the Constitution are protected. The putting into place of a data protection regime shifts the responsibility from the people who ask you for your information to you as a Kenyan citizen. It's your responsibility to know when your information is being collected at any given time and by who and for what purpose. So that's how we come in, to regulate that space, to make sure anybody who is collecting your information is making sure that they are following the necessary regulatory framework. Yeah.
Okay, because when a lot of folks hear it, what we hear is that, the information of Kenyans is being collected and kept in one pool. But I hear you saying that actually what it is to make sure that wherever your information is being collected, at the reception of a building, in a hospital, in a hotel, whatever, that those folks who are collecting the data will then or must respect the integrity of it.
Correct.
Is there?
Yes, that is a correct description of what our office does. Yes.
The fear, though, is something totally different. How do you dissuade Kenyans from then holding on to that fear that actually is a big bad office somewhere in government who is keeping tabs on us and making sure that, you know,
doing mass surveillance? No. We are take your typical regulator, and there are many in this country: Insurance Regulatory Authority, NTSA, CA, Communication Authority, SASRA, which is for SACCOs. There are we are many, CBK, which is for bankers. Our work is that it's in that space, and the context is globally. Over 40 years ago, Convention 108 put in place what we call the right to making sure that there is an authority, the right to data privacy. So in that context, globally you've seen a movement, and more recently in the European Union, what most people call GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. When the world begins to realize that we are all harvesting people's information, we are all keen to have people's information. Developers are saying we need people's information to come up with solutions that are specific to health. We want solutions which are specific to our customers. We are all looking. You remember earlier you were talking about the traffic update, and I could see what you're using is really artificial intelligence. It means that we are all, I don't know whether it's Google Map, is able to pick every single car on every simple highway, and then they are able to put together and they are able to analyze, to give you a solution, to tell you which are the options in terms of the ways you can use. That's what technology helps us. And then locally with the digital economic blueprint, and even with the president movement towards making sure the digital superhighway. So you can't speak about transformation in terms of ICT and leave out data protection, because it's about collection of massive data. So if everybody is collecting massive data, and one of the biggest risk today is the data brokers. Yep. They harvest that information, they sell it to people, and without your consent. So with that, you can't wish away the regulator to make sure that everyone collecting that information is making sure that it's safe for the sake of the data subject. Because at the end of the day, we always have to remember it's about the customer centricity. The customer's information is safe at any given time.
How exactly do you compute, if you could, the value of data? Because for something to be protected, it must have value. And for an entire commission to be set up, it must, some understanding must have been arrived at that this thing requires protection. Otherwise, we're going to have a problem here. How do you place a value in it? I'll explain why I'm asking the question the way I'm asking. When you talk about data protection,
yes,
I feel the emphasis on the benefits that accrue as opposed to what we generally talk about is what would assist in allaying the fears that we have about the proliferation of data. Just understanding that, okay, yes, that may be true, but consider this, that in the absence of this, this is where you would be. So let me ask the question again. But I think you've understood what I'm asking.
The value of data actually is described as a new oil or new gold. It is so valuable. When you look at it as raw data, it means nothing. It's your name out there. It's your address out there. It's your health information out there. It doesn't mean anything to anyone. But for somebody who is looking to define who their customer base is, or for a policy decision, even in the time of COVID, to know what is the what is the likelihood of us hitting certain numbers, and what kind of intervention can we make at government. When you take that raw data, you analyze it, it then gives you very valuable information that then helps us make decisions. And that is what drives economies today. It's what drives social media today. It's what drives businesses today. It's what drives research today. It's what drives any decision in the world is driven by data.
You know, what makes it alarming, though, is not the data in and of itself, but it is what we call this new age of communication and the tools we have in it. Because just the fundamental process of human interaction is a process of data collection.
In today's world, yes, especially with the social media.
Yes.
It's even become part of us. we don't seem to remember what life was without communicating through WhatsApp or telling the whole world where you are through your Facebook page or your Instagram. In the end, the people behind those machines have developed algorithms which analyze, and that is why when it comes to your algorithm, you will be able to see when you look at your Instagram page on a regular basis, your only certain type of information pops.
Yep.
Only certain type of information. Why? Because they are able to analyze and say, let's give this person a specific product. They like hiking, and when I look at what they are posting, where they were last weekend, let's send them a hike of shoes or where the latest hiking is. That is what data is doing. But you're the one who gave them that information. You told them I went to Kilimanjaro or I went to Longonot. So now they're able to, or I went to a party in a certain place. Yes. That's how valuable information is and data.
So then how do we define protecting that data? What is data protection?
And that's what it is. Data protection, therefore, is to be able to make sure you, as a data subject, in this case, the owner of the information, your information is never misused. Is never misused. And if it's misused, you have a place where you can come and complain that my information has been misused. My information I was never informed in terms of it was going to be for commercial use, which takes me to the next question that when people when they collect your information, there must be what we call the principles of data protection. What are those guiding norms of data protection? For instance, what we've spoken about here, when it comes to supermarkets or hospitals, there's what we call, we need to have a lawful and fairness and transparency. Lawful, there has to be a lawful reason why they are collecting information. They must inform you. That is for purposes of transparency. We want to collect your information because you're our customer.
Okay.
Or you're a customer, or you're our client,
a patient,
or whichever. And you can be defined by both public and private sector. It's not limited to private sector only.
Okay.
So it's their responsibility to tell you what the information will be collected for and their legal basis for processing the information. We are collecting information because as our customer, we need to know you. So they must tell you that. So second principle is purpose limitation. So once they tell you that, purpose limitation, it means when they collect that information and they say, we are collecting it because you're a customer and it's for purposes of marketing, for instance, then you must consent to that. So the purpose they collected it is for your customer. So they can't take away that information and then and then use it for other issues. So that is what we call purpose limitation. You limit the purpose by which they take the information. The third one is data minimization. And I often like to say, if I am a customer for an insurance company, and I'm insuring a car, I don't need you to know my spouse or whether what my status is, because that is not necessary. That is what we call data minimization. You only collect information that is necessary for that particular purpose, and the reason why there's that insistence is because if you collect true information, you're even risking the life of that data subject. You see. Why do you need so much when you only need so little? And then the other issue is accuracy. When you collect my information, please can you make sure that it is accurate? You need to make sure that it's accurate. And then we have the security aspect of data. When you collect data, make sure you have systems that protect data. From when you conceptualize, how do you collect it, how do you store it, how do you process it? So institutions like data controllers and data, which I'll come and describe shortly, controllers and processor, have a responsibility to make sure that the information they collect, it's actually safe. So they have to put in place mechanism that secure your information. They have that responsibility. So in the instance of, which is a very commonly talked about, access to buildings, which is a legal requirement, which in that case, the owners could say it's a lawful purpose.
Yeah.
We are collecting because under the private security agency regulations, you're supposed to deposit your identity and show your identity. That is, they have a lawful purpose to collect that information. However, going beyond that purpose to collect that information and storing for that information for unnecessary duration of time. 2, collecting information that is beyond personal identification. Why do you need to know my email address as I access
or my residence?
Or my residence. That is too much. And you remember, I talked about data minimization.
Yes.
Only collect what is necessary to be able to identify me. So, and because there has been a lot of public outcry about that information.
Yes, you're going into a building and they're asking you for everything. In fact, you even leave your ID and they take a photocopy.
Actually, you have got to the heart of the matter. This leaving my ID.
By law, they're actually
what are they required
to just you show your identity, you deposit.
Show or deposit?
Deposit. You can you deposit.
I leave it with them.
You leave it when you are way out. You leave. The concern therefore is, why are you asking my biometrics to access a building?
Yes.
You see?
Yeah.
I have a problem.
Okay. Let me give you,
have a problem with depositing.
Example. We went to, just as an example, so we can bring this thing home. We went to Kilifi. We were doing a show. We were checking into the hotel. CT Muga refused to leave his passport at the desk because he said, I don't understand. I'm checking into this hotel.
You knew I was coming.
You knew I was coming. You know what we're here for. The work that we're doing is down the road. The man refused to leave his passport at the desk. And he kept asking the question, why I'm not leaving my passport. I don't see why I should.
Legal purpose.
Man even refused to log on to the hotel's Wi-Fi because he said, look, these people are
mining
my information.
Now, we also need to be a bit kind to the people so that you allow them to do their job. By the hotel asking you for their information, they are actually, they are within the law. It's a lawful purpose. The question is, did they explain to you? Because so that we can move on to the next purpose, I don't dwell too much on this. What we have done, because we've received complaints on that particular issue, we are currently investigating 2 buildings on that issue of data, and another 1 building is an audit. But because it's such a huge public outcry, what we've done, and this is recommended globally as practice, you then, you give guidance. So we are at the tail end of constituting a team, and our hope is that sooner than later we should be able to have a guidance note to private security, because it's a concern that has been raised even by some who are even proactive, who are running, because they also want to be compliant. And credit to them, those who want to be compliant, but also by law they are supposed to actually collect your information. So that is what we are doing as an office to address that concern. But don't be too hard, because also if anything were to happen to you when you're in a building, they needed to know who exactly accessed this building. So it's the balance. And what we recommend, it's important to have what we call a privacy notice. And a privacy notice literally would be telling people, we collect information, this is the purpose of the information, this is how long it's going to be stored. It's really holding you accountable for how you collect people's information.
Exactly, because now those are the aspects are the ones that we're talking about, right?
Yes.
So anybody who's collecting your data, they've got to inform you all those things. What's the legal purpose? How long am I keeping? What kind of information do I want? What shall I use the information for? So they should give you that information, and then you consent to that.
By the way, consent is not necessary, by the way. Information is. Consent is just one of the many legal bases. We have 9 of them. Yeah, it's not absolute. It's because that's also a thing I've seen in the Kenyan public say, but you've not asked for my consent. Not necessarily. Because there are other issues. There could be a legal obligation. Like in this case we are speaking is about legal obligation.
Your consent is not required.
No, it's not. But the information is required. But for marketing, commercial marketing, my consent is required, you see. So it's also important to let Kenyans, because I've seen that. Why wasn't my consent sought?
But then doesn't it just link to one of these other provisions?
Yes.
Doesn't it link to the provisions that you spoke about earlier? That should something happen in the future, with this information that you have now presented to this entity, whomever it is, you do not actually know what they are going to do with it. Should an incident arise where they have used your information for a certain purpose which you did not consent to, how then do you what are the mitigation measures for that?
One, even if you did not consent, they must have told you what is the purpose. You remember when I talked about the principle of purpose limitation?
Yes.
We are collecting your information for issuing you with the insurance. We are collecting your information because you're our patient. We collect your information as our patient. We'll keep it for this duration of time. And then that is it. Should that go beyond? Because also, should that go beyond that? What are the remedies? One of the remedies is complaint to the Office of the Data Commissioner. And our complaint is they automated your complaint online. And then we investigate. 2, if there is a breach, which is what you're talking about, if that information leaked, this entity, one, are supposed to report to us within 72 hours of the data breach. And it's for obvious reason. Report to us and also inform their customers that there was actually, our information was accessed. And therefore you need to know that these are the likelihood. Why is that important? Remember, we always have to flash back why this law came into place. Is to make sure that the rights of the data subject are protected and your right to privacy. Because imagine, and the example we want to give, imagine if information about your health status ended up in the wrong hands. We've seen they could lead to suicide, internet trolling, discrimination. And who wants their personal issues known outside? Who wants that? It's really an intrusion to your privacy. So that is why it's important to let your customer know if that happens. And you need to report to the Office of the Data Commissioner, because really it's part of your self-regulation. If that doesn't happen and we investigate and we find out there's a breach, then we come to what we call an enforcement notice. And then if by enforcement notice we tell you we've investigated this issue, there was an issue on this issue, you didn't apply this principle, you didn't explain to your customer on this, you don't have a privacy notice, we now then want you to actually deal with your issues within 30 days. If that doesn't happen, we then go to the enforcement, to the penalty notice, where it's 1% of your profit and or 5 million shilling. And I believe this country is working towards making those penalties even stiffer. You have seen the kind of penalties that other countries are experiencing in Europe, because theirs are even stiffer. But I would believe the makers of the law understood that this is a country that is growing. But that does not stop us from legal reform and make sure the penalties are even stiffer. And as an office, we've shown we have the capacity to actually issue penalty notices, and also enforcement notices.
Let's take a break on that note. It's 28 minutes to 8. Our guest this morning is Immaculate Kasait. She is the Data Commissioner. Madam DC, we are talking about data protection. We'll be celebrating Data Protection Day.
Yes.
Data Privacy Day.
Yeah.
When is it?
It's on 28th of January, but we will be commemorating it ourselves this Friday.
Right.
We have activities lined up. We have master classes going on. We have seminars going on Thursday, that is 26th, and then the actual day's commemoration is going to be on 27th. We have booths. We have over 60 exhibitors who are coming from different sectors, private and public, basically demonstrating what they are doing in as far as data privacy is concerned.
Indeed, very interesting. Ndu, please tell her about Minute Maid.
So taking a minute to refresh with Minute Maid in any one of the fantastic flavors of apple. There's the mango nectar. There's also the tropical nectar, as you can see, that has been, quite depleted because it actually does refresh those minutes when you need to take an moment. So take a sip, take an with Minute Maid through your day I'm sure you're inundated with a lot of the information that comes to you, and you need a moment.
Too much data for the data commissioner.
Data for the data commissioner.
Time for that break. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The man who looks at a beautiful girl and doesn't talk to her will end up serving lunch at her wedding.
Aye, City. Do like that.
My father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man?
Ameua panya.
Small mammal, big mammal.
Mtu atamshinda.
I mean, I don't answer.
What are they saying? How are we comparison? I mean, you kill a mouse.
What do they say?
What they're saying is, my father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man? Name, surprise. Someone's name.
The name surprised you?
No, the name is surprise.
No, what am I saying? I'm from Nigeria, man. I met somebody called I Believe. So
See?
Your name is I Believe? Yes, my name is I Believe. But that's the short form. I said, excuse me? I said, yes. My name is I Believe. So what's the full name? I believe in the goodness of
The Situation Room.
The sun is peeking through those clouds in Nairobi
conversation.
at 17, highs of 27 today and lows of 15. We'll see lows of 11 in a sunny Nakuru at 13, and it's 12 and sunny in Nyeri, going to highs of 27. We'll also see highs of 26 in a sunny Eldoret, currently at 13. And the sun is shining in Mombasa this morning at 25, highs of 32. We'll see highs of 31 in a mostly sunny Malindi at 25. It's 19 and sunny in Kisumu, highs of 30 and lows of 18. And it's 18 and sunny in Kakamega. We'll see highs of 32 and lows of 14. Kampala is sunny at 21, highs of 28. And it'll go to highs of 32 in a mostly cloudy Dar es Salaam at 27. It's 16 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 28 and lows of 14. And partly cloudy at 26 in Lagos with highs of 33. It'll go to highs of 29 in Kinshasa, where it's cloudy at 22.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever.
All right, it has packed up quite some heading out from Gong Road, and this is coming in from Naivasha Road, heavy, and touching on the junction, Naivasha Road, touching on Gong Road, and then going out towards Riara Road. You're going to touch then into Gitanga Road. All of that is bumper to bumper, moving slower than slow this morning. And it just happens to be Wednesday morning traffic. No explanation beyond that. We're also looking at Nzima Springs, heading out towards James Gishuru, crossing over Waiyaki, which is another story. And then you're getting onto Kuna Road, the Red Hill Link Road, absolute mess. Even the escape route has traffic, so go figure. Coming out of Westlands, Ring Road Westlands, also just as busy. Parklands into the thick of it, Limuru Road. And then look at what's going on Kiambu Road, absolute mess, folks, as well as the Thika Superhighway, Juju Road, in and outbound traffic continues. And we're also looking then at Manyanja. Wow, Manyanja's done nothing this morning as well, connecting from Outer Ring. Very, very busy on Jogo Road. It is crazy. Where are you? Do you find a good route that folk can use? Let us know. The bypasses will do you well. Southern, Eastern, Northern. Use them. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Is your New Year resolution, among your New Year resolutions, owning a home this year? Well, how far are you in the ownership of your own home? If you earn rent you pay rent of between 20 and 60,000 shillings, and you're thinking, I need to collect a lot more money to save a lot more money so that I can own a home. No, you don't need to think like that. That amount of rent can actually be translated into home ownership. 20,000 to 60,000 shillings. Just drive down Thika Superhighway at Kasarani, join Mwiki Road, just 3 kilometers off the Thika Superhighway. You will find the Elma Apartments, a development by Centum Real Estate. They have some beautiful apartments that are coming up there. from as low as 2.5 million shillings. And what do they have? They have power backup, they have a green courtyard, convenience retail store, a mini soccer pitch, they've got a rooftop that's usable for you to relax, ample parking, treated water 24/7, all these and more. Just beginning 2.5 million shillings, some beautiful apartments from studios to 1 bedroom to 2 bedroom.
Sounds like a magical place.
Cindy, all you need to do is put a deposit of 250,000 shillings, and then the rest you pay in flexible installments. Text the word ELMER, that's ELMER, to 22365. ELMER to 22365. Own a home sooner than you thought with Centum Real Estate. Immaculate Kasait, the Data Commissioner, is our guest this morning, and we are talking about data protection in the country. Madam DC, let's go straight into this one, okay? Recently, people have just been raising alarm. So, in fact, the High Court has even allowed 2 lawyers to go ahead and collect complaints from other people who would like to join a class action suit against a mobile telecom operator. Because at the point of collecting data as you're registering SIM cards, one of the clauses in that form was, okay, we can even collect information about your bank account details, your credit card information, SWIFT code, or other banking information. And people are wondering, wait, I just registered a SIM card with you, bank, and then there's now a whole connection of, how many you guys are been used by Kerry, Kerry can now come for me, Remember what the president was saying, how come Kerry, you only have X number of pins and these guys have X number of subscribers, so is there a connection? So what is the extent of protection of data that you give to these organizations? Is that legal? Yes. They have a legal mandate to collect my information, but do they have legal mandate also to share with other government agencies and such kind of
Okay. Without going to the merit, because I don't have the details yet in terms of the case, I think it's commendable to begin seeing vibrant concerns by Kenyans about data. That tells you that indeed people are woke on their on privacy, and it's good. 40 plus years in the celebration of the Data Privacy Day, people are beginning to ask those questions, and it's a good thing because then Kenyans are taking charge of their own information. I'll go back to my point earlier when I said that when it comes to data purpose limitation, you would need to explain to Kenyans what the information is for when they are collecting their information. And in when it comes to there's what we call legal basis for processing data. And of the 6 legal bases for processing data, the ones that mostly apply to private sector are a legal obligation. That there's a legal obligation between us and yourself. That's why we're collecting data. We need this data for purposes of performing a certain contract. That is why in a supermarket, for instance, the supermarket will need to use your credit card or your debit card or whatever digital wallet to process payment.
Yep.
So they need to do that. And then there is one which is very flexible in private sector, relies on, it's called legitimate interest. That we have a legitimate interest because you're a customer to do this and the other. And then, of course, there's consent, which I said here earlier is the most weakest in terms of reliance on. There's vital interest. Vital interest is when you're saving life, performance of a legal basis. And now, going back to the performance, those 3, the major 3 are for private sector. For government institution, the one reason why they collect data is for legal basis and performance of a public interest. And this, any government institution will rely on it. That we are collecting information because we are required by the law, and this is what we are supposed to do. Coming back to the concern that was raised earlier, I must emphasize, as a data controller, and the data controller is the person who decides what to do with your information, it's absolutely important to explain to your data subject why you're collecting the information, and you cannot collect information in perpetuity. Two, you cannot collect all the information. You must limit how much information is for the same reason. So it's incumbent on data controllers to explain that and make sure that they limit in terms of what information they are collecting.
Then now actually tell us about those two terms, data controllers and data processors.
To make it very easy, because when you use them, then people are saying this one is becoming a lawyer now. And they'll ask me, is a Buddha rider a data controller or a data processor? Let's break it down. Okay. We use a lot of we use logistics firm then, but now we use Buddhas.
Yes.
To collect our information, and we tell them where we are. But you see, you're not talking to the Buddha, you're talking to the Uber app.
Yeah.
Or whichever mob app that is that we are using to tell us where, or the restaurant, or the pharmacy, or the person who is selling you clothes. That person selling you clothes is a data controller, because they're the ones collecting information about you. Then they make a decision. Yes, where you live, who you are, where you live, and the type of clothes you want. Well, clothes you want is not part of data protection, but they're giving you a service. But you see, they are collecting the information. Then they decide to send Buddha. So the Buddha become a processor.
Okay. So processor, because they're using information.
They have been instructed by the core. That is the basic of explaining it. Let's go a notch higher. In a hospital case, when you walk into a hospital, the hospital collects your personal information. So the hospital in this case becomes the data controller. But you see, the hospital could outsource some of the services to a third party. The third party, whether it would be in human resource or a certain app which they are using, then that person providing that service becomes the processor, because they take instructions from the hospital to do certain things with that information.
Okay.
That is a clear distinction. One is the one who collects, the other one takes instructions from the one who collects on what to do with the information.
Are they both responsible then for how they handle this data?
Yes, they are. They both are They are equally responsible in terms of how they handle the data. They are both governed by the Data Protection Act. And in fact, when it comes to the registration process, we insist you need to register as both data controller and processor if you're doing both.
Okay.
And if you're doing one, register as one.
All right.
Yeah.
So can we look into that space where a lot of people then battle with, in the event that something should happen as a result of your data being in a particular place? We've heard, and I'm sure you have as well, of those who have somebody calls you on your phone. They have your information. They have your number. What they're trying to do is trying to get money off of your phone, for example. These scammers, spamming, whatever. How they have gotten your information, up to them. If they are able to then complete this transaction, whereby they actually then get the money. The only way they were able to do this is because they have some of your information from whomever. Could have been a money agent, whatever, on the list where they fill in. If you was to start to trace back, who would be held responsible, and how then can you get, the measures then put in place to either get some reprieve for yourself as a victim, or make sure that it doesn't happen again?
Let me emphasize also that we need to also draw a line about cybercrime. Because many times we find ourselves with that concern, which is outside because that's a crime that has actually happened. And in that case, that is an issue that needs to be investigated by DCI. Because it's somebody who defrauded person using a digital wallet, and there's a cybercrime act which then falls into effect in as far as this is concerned. And it's important that people know that's the route. When you lose money, that is the route that actually needs to happen. The act drills down on the institutions institutions, mostly, well, let me say mostly, because there are some people who actually collect data on their own behalf and then misuse it. But the responsibility of the act was more of you who is collecting information, you who is giving instruction to other people, and how you're utilizing information and making sure that people's information is safe. And the context was e-commerce. Looking at it that way, why it was pushed in the case of Kenya particularly was e-commerce. That the last and a lot of emphasis under the digital superhighway, that you look at the connection, that we put fiber cables as one of we put cables, we put satellites, we make sure everyone has a phone, make sure everyone has a digital wallet. A lot of information moves through that channel. It's supposed to propel this economy in terms of commerce.
Yeah.
How do we make sure that people who are collecting this information secure it? Because you don't want to transact with a country which does not have a proper regulatory framework that can secure people. And just to say, I like to say this, because people may say, me, I'm a small SME. I don't need to comply with the data protection. But remember, a small SME could grow to transact with people who of European nationality. And if there's a breach of their data, you will be held responsible in Kenya and in Europe. And the penalties can be quite stiff. And also, what is the reputation risk for your business? Because what does that mean when people know that your business does not comply with data protection? Yes.
So does the GDPR of Europe apply in Kenya?
No, it doesn't apply in Kenya. But it is, we compare. We hope someday we can have what we call adequacy decision for the European Union board, but we are not yet there. We, as a commission, what we are doing is to try and get into those spaces. It helps, because then in terms of data flows from here to other countries, for our businesses, because we can see Kenya as a hub, you're seeing businesses growing to the next level, it will help. Yeah. But when you look at European Union, the GDPR vis-a-vis our data protection, there's really not much different. Maybe the penalties of ours are a bit more kind. We hope we can make them stiffer someday.
Talking about the legal status, legal basis, legal obligation. So the government comes to you with all these legal bases and they want to collect your information. Kenya National Bureau of Statistics is doing its survey, and it's going to the people and asking them very many personal questions, which are then put into information. 20% of Kenyans are doing this and the other. And my God, I'm among the people who had told them this. So surely now.
Like the one we saw the other day.
Yeah. How many people in Muranga now, the women of Muranga, are leading in having multiple sexual partners. And you're thinking,
hold on a minute.
But you don't know who it is.
Yeah. But we know people from Muranga.
No, but you see, that's the thing about data protection. One of the exemption actually is for journalists. The journalists are exempt in terms of, they collect information and it's personal. And you're doing public duty. The other one is research. I believe what was released is research.
Yes.
Those are exemption, and there are many other exemptions, including national security. There are exemptions in every rule. There is an exemption. You're allowed to do research, because you see, research what we call data anonymization.
Yes.
You cannot relate this data to this person.
Yes.
It was simply a research.
It was a research.
So they are able to mask or encrypt or anonymize or pseudonymize your information so that we do not know who this is. Like, even if you know people from Muranga, you don't know who it is, and you don't know who unless they come and tell you, I'm the one who was interviewed.
It's good enough. But there's the other side of the government, sorry, City.
Yes.
There's the other side of the government that is collecting your data by offering you services. So you go to the e-citizen platform or you go to the Nairobi online platform and you're transacting. You're applying for a business license, you're trying for whatever, you are applying for on NTSA for your driver's license. There's a third party that is providing that service. And they're the ones therefore so what are they? Are they the processor? Are they the controller? And to what extent is my data protected such that this person, wakikosana na serikali, they're not going to go with my data?
That's why we are here. That's why we are here, and as an office, in case that happens, that we can hold those institutional accountable.
So what I'm asking is,
Yeah.
as a regulator,
Yeah.
what do you do in advance to
Or in
ensure
advance
that
to make sure, yes.
by the time this platform is being rolled out,
Yeah.
everything has been put in place to protect my data?
Several things. One, we issue advisories. We issue advisory, and the one I like to make reference to is actually the expressway. There was hue and cry when it started in terms of the kind of information that was given.
Yes.
And you've seen there has been a shift in terms of data minimization, and that's an advisory in terms of how much information. And government offices seek information in terms of advisories. We've issued a couple of advisories on particular issues. So that is one. Two, government or private institution, as long as you're collecting personal information, it's high risk. And high risk could be like what you're describing. There'll be shared databases. It will be shared with a third party. We are collecting biometrics. You're required to do what we call a data protection impact assessment as a government or private agency. You're collecting sensitive information about children. That is a requirement. You're supposed to file with the data commissioner 60 days before commencement of the project. And just to say, the High Court actually even said, I have to go back and get the exact ruling, that even when you did not do the data protection impact assessment earlier, then when you start, you must do it. It's a requirement. The data protection impact assessment is like an audit. It helps you prepare. It's a risk assessment that I want to collect data in a specific group, and this is to help my company. What are the likely risks? What are we collecting the information for? And you see, when you ask yourself, what are we collecting the information for? Then you begin to say data minimization. If not data minimization, or what are the obligations for the data? How will we secure it? How will we make sure that we don't collect it in perpetuity? So the data protection impact assessment is a requirement. That is the other one. The third one, of course, is an audit. An audit as an office and inspection. Just like other regulators do inspection, we are empowered as an office to do inspection. And moving forward, you will see our office doing more of that. Doing inspections, doing audit in specific agencies. And this is self-driven. It doesn't have to be something that somebody has complained. And thirdly, in case there is a complaint, then we can embark on an investigation. So far, we have one government agency which we have received a complaint for, and that is one of the things we are looking into.
City.
You know, this whole subject is complex.
Is it?
Well, it's complex in this sense. You see, we interact with the data on a daily basis. And then you have now an act. You have an entire department of government that does nothing else other than deal with this. That's what they're doing. What's going through my mind is the things we're discussing are very easy to understand when it's explained, but how do we proliferate this information so that it is understood? Not today, because we are having this chat here, but so that it's something, the information about it is something that people interact with in the same way they interact with data. Because ignorance plays a very, very big role, or the lack of adequate knowledge plays an extremely big role in some of the problems that arise with the subject of data protection.
I think that's a concern even for us. I was just going through. We are in the process of completing a baseline survey with funded by the European Union and GIZ in terms of where we are. But at a preliminary basis, one of the issues that is emerging is awareness. And that is what touch. And awareness is really about behavioral change. And what you are asking is really about behavioral change. People must shift because it takes two to tangle. And we as a data subject must begin asking questions why my information is being collected and for what reason. And then on the other side, the responsibility of a data controller to make sure that information is safe and they explain to me why it's being collected in the first place. So awareness creation. I keep saying we as an institution have tried, and I believe there's much more to do. in terms of that space of awareness creation. And even as we do in our small little way to embark on a campaign to create awareness about this week globally on Data Privacy Day, we need to see more players. And I know there are efforts by different players to get people to create awareness, but that is the only way, so that we have a mind shift completely, that we now become responsible for the information that we collect. Yes.
I think it's really, really important. So you're telling us as we gear towards celebrating the Data Privacy Day, you have a number of activities that are taking place.
Yes.
Can we all participate, or is it only restricted to those people who understand English
and understand the data?
No, we can participate. I think we have we have posted on our social media page or the different, because I don't have the links here, but on Thursday in particular, because we are going to have 60 exhibitors at KICC who then are showing different, and they are private and public sector, what they are doing as far as data protection is concerned.
So we come up to KICC
yes,
Thursday.
Thursday.
Full day.
Full day.
Okay.
Thursday, full day. And we are there Thursday and Friday also.
Okay.
But Thursday, the reason I emphasize Thursday, because we have panel discussions discussing from government in terms of what the different ways in terms of data protection and what they are doing. So we have different panels at KICC.
Asante.
Thank you.
Emmanuel
Don't worry, my son is Emmanuel.
Okay. Mama Emmanuel, Immaculate Kasait, is the data commissioner. She's been our guest this morning. Thank you for joining us. Keep it here for more conversations. Good morning, 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Kenya and France have agreed to enhance their cooperation in development projects. The two countries have further undertaken to diversify and harness existing business opportunities between them. In a meeting between President William Ruto and Emmanuel Macron at Elysee Palace in Paris, the two leaders admitted to further cooperation in peace and security in the East Africa region. They acknowledged that Kenya and France enjoy warm and cordial historical relations that continue to grow on an upward trajectory. On the sidelines, Ruto met senior representatives of the French business community, where he pushed for increased trade and investment between the two countries. Now, the price of maize flour is likely to drastically reduce next month when the first consignment of zero-rated maize imports hits the market. Agriculture Principal Secretary Philip Artame says regulations to guide the importation of the white and yellow maize would be published next week. The government is optimistic that the first consignment of the 900 metric tons of zero-rated white maize will hit the market next month. Already, the government has licensed 20 traders to import white maize and 50 to import yellow maize to reduce the retail price of maize flour and animal feeds. He says modalities and regulations that will guide the importation of the maize will be gazetted next week. The government hopes the imported yellow maize will help reduce the high price of eggs and milk. The Ministry of Agriculture is seeking a budgetary allocation of 8.44 billion shillings to implement the 10-year agricultural market strategy that will strengthen the supply chain by linking farmers directly to markets. The market strategy targets to reduce post-harvest losses that stand at 30%. Now, the National Treasury is proposing for the formation of a privatization authority to replace the existing Privatization Commission to, among others, advise the government on all aspects of privatization of public entities. Under the draft Privatization Bill 2023, which also seeks to repeal the Privatization Act 2005, which had established the Privatization Commission, the authority will also have a 9-member board, including a managing director, whose chairman will be a presidential appointee for a 3-year term renewable once. The bill also gives the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary the powers to countersign privatization agreement, which the Principal Secretary currently has. However, the privatization shall not apply to an agreement to sell an asset or part of liquidation if the sale price of the asset is less than 10 million shillings or such other amount as the Cabinet Secretary may prescribe. Now, the Death Penalty Project, in partnership with the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, have released the latest report on the death penalty, which provides a comprehensive analysis of the lives of prisoners on death row in Kenya. The report focuses on prisoners' socioeconomic backgrounds and profiles, as well as their experiences of the criminal justice process and imprisonment. Development partners DPP and KNCHR commissioned the University of Oxford Death Penalty Research Unit to conduct a study of prisoners' experiences as part of its program of research on the death penalty in Kenya. To date, this work has consisted of a study on opinion formers' views of the death penalty and a report on public attitudes to the death penalty, both published in 2022. Now, Kisumu County Government, through the Department of Public Health, has sued controversial cleric Father John Juma Pesa of the Holy Ghost Coptic Church of Kenya for unlawfully holding mentally challenged persons in deplorable conditions. Winam Court Senior Principal Magistrate Fatuma Rashid directed that the lawyers for both parties file responses by tomorrow and that the hearings will kick off this Friday, since the matter is certified as urgent. According to court papers, the Department of Health says 23 mentally challenged persons are being held at the church along the Kisumu-Kakamega Highway but are lacking basic amenities like toilets, which is a public health hazard and goes against the Public Health Act. And religious leaders along the border counties led by Salvation Army are appealing to the government to curb the surging cases of human trafficking that are rampant in the western region of Kenya. Speaking at Salvation Army Church Kolanya Division in a convention that brought together religious leaders across Busia, members of security team led by ACC Julius Marwa and various NGOs, they noted that the cases are complex and often involve organized crime syndicates, terrorism, fraudulent financial schemes, and sensitive victim issues due to porosity of the border. The organization launched a 3-year project that advocates for anti-human trafficking with a sense of giving hope to the less privileged in the society. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseta, good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Heavy on Langata Road going out towards the city. We're also looking at it spilling over to Raila Odinga Way. And all of this is touching on Uhuru Highway. Quite busy as you're getting into the city from this direction of Mombasa Road. Okay, also Gong Road busy. That started at about 7 o'clock and we're still in the midst of it. It's busy coming off Gitanga, Naivasha Road, all of that coming into the western part of the city. Speaking of which, Westerns is quite the busy bee of activity. We're looking at James Gishoro, busy as you're going on to Waiaki Way and then going out through that whole Spring Valley, Lower Kabete area. That's doing the thing. On the other side, it's also doing the thing on the Thika Superhighway, as well as Kiambu Road, and we're looking at Limu Road. Heavy traffic in many parts of the city. Think about this. Use the service lanes on the Thika Superhighway. It'll do you good. Let's talk about SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Let us know what might be going on with you and keep things moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room,
It is
the only way to start your day.
Welcome to the third hour of The Situation Room. It's the 25th day of 2023. Still reminding you about Elma Apartments on Mwiki Road off Thika Superhighway, just 3 kilometers there. The developer is who? Centum Real Estates. Yes, they're putting up some beautiful apartments from studio to 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom apartments from as low as 2.5 million shillings. And all you need to do is put up a deposit of 250,000 shillings. And then the rest, you pay in flexible installments. You discuss with them. They tell you this is what we can do. And you get to own an apartment. Just think about it. You're paying rent currently at between 20,000 to 60,000 shillings. And you're thinking, all right, I need to put in a lot of money, save a lot of money. Then I can go to my SACCO or to my bank to then take a loan or a mortgage so that I can own a home. No, you can actually start with what you're doing right now. Then you can go to your bank or SACCO to look for the top-up. And you'll own your home. The journey to home ownership does not have to be painful. Just text the word ELMER, ELMER, to 22365 and you'll get all the information back from Centum Real Estate on that. We have a new guest in the studio. His name is Victor Bwire. He is the Director, Media Training and Development at the Media Council of Kenya. Today we are just talking to government.
Yes, Serikali.
Today is Serikali Day. Serikali is in the studio.
Yes.
We welcome him. We welcome other guests. CT, do like that.
Okay. This week our proverbs are from the country of Angola.
Bom dia.
Thank you very much. One who throws the stone forgets. One who is hit remembers.
Obrigado.
Sayonara.
You know, what you're seeing happening here, Bonabure, is these two individuals trying to demonstrate their vast knowledge
of Angolanese.
Yes.
Interesting.
Victor, good morning.
Morning, Eric.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Long time.
Long time, man.
But I follow you.
Good.
Yes.
You should.
You can be sure I follow you.
Very good. Very good. Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room. Always good to have you here.
Pleasure.
Naona mpaka umevaa label.
Yes.
Your shirt is a Bwire.
Tunajaribu, yes.
You're wearing a Bwire.
Yes.
Well, you know. When you hear that proverb from Angola, one who throws a stone forgets, but one who is hit remembers. What's your interpretation?
You know, when you are hit, you have the scar, and you can always look at it even later, and you see there's somebody or something which hit me one day. But the one who threw it will obviously forget because he doesn't know the impact. So sometimes he will never bother, you know, that I threw a stone one day. So that's why largely the person who incurs, who receives, always would remember, because sometimes there are signs of what happened to him, where the stone hit him, as it were, or how he dodged it, or something he did to avoid it. So that's why it remains in you, the impact.
So the recipient always remembers, whether it's a recipient of a good deed or a bad deed.
True.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Now, there's a lot that's happening in the media landscape. As the Media Council of Kenya, you sit there, you look at how media is operating, how coverage is happening, what kind of content is put on various media platforms. And of course, you don't just deal with the legacy media, you deal with all media. Just paint for us a picture of what, from where you sit as a media council, what do you see happening in the trends of media in terms of coverage, in terms of business models, in terms of consumption?
Thank you, Eric, and pleasure, colleagues. One, quickly, happy again, and like I mentioned, I follow the program, and the Situation is one of those programs that's still very focused and brings out issues that are for the public good. And I want to encourage you to increase more programs around media discussions, more media issues, because a number of things that are happening in the industry will never be known if some of these discussions are not put on the table. That quite a number of times we discuss sector issues, other sector issues, and bring all manner of guests, but we forget our own industry, and sometimes we lose in terms of a national discussion on some of the issues that are happening. So I want to encourage you, and I appreciate this opportunity. And quickly, the council, like you said, one, the council is a regulator. as where it will listen to complaints about journalism, but it's also a media development institution. And we work on, and that's why I'm the director for media development. And if you look at the media development indicators, the UNESCO, which is the United Nations body that deals with media matters, has put out the 7 media indicators. What shows that a media in a country or in a society is growing, is helping. So it's not just about media freedom, but in fact the W again, who is one of our partners, also has given some indicators on how do we assess a country that is going well. UNESCO has just released a report on Kenya on the media development indicators for the country. And we look at the first 7, obviously not going to all the 7, but one of the things is the business model. Is the business model able to pay for the news, to pay rights of journalists, training levels, standards, media support, all those accreditation standards, training, curricula, media freedom, safety of journalists, the issue of gender, they're all mentioned in those indicators. And as a country, obviously, we have made great progress. And Eric, you are sure that before then, before the current constitution, media freedom and development was never mentioned in the constitution. And for the first time, as a constitution, we have several articles now constitutionally that provide for media development, media freedom, and related. That's a major plus. And even if you look at the Reporters Without Borders global ranking of media freedom in the world, you remember last year Kenya moved from 119 position to 69. That's almost half, and that was a major show that a lot has happened in the sector, and that we appreciate. Now, obviously, in fact, we are releasing a report on what is called media trends in the country. We do an annual media report where we assess the things you have asked, and we'll be releasing a report actually on the 13th of February, which is the World Radio Day, you are aware. So, and one of the things that is coming out in terms of trends that, for example, in the media consumption, legacy media is still doing so. It's still a dominant place. While the issue of alternative media, digital media is a big contributor. But legacy media, in fact, the biggest source of news for Kenyans is TV, followed by radio. And then obviously we go to to digital. And within the digital also, you start noticing there are also segmentations in terms of where people get the information. So that is going on. You start seeing that radio is still a dominant player. I have not announced the result here, but you start noticing that radios like Radio Maisha and the rest are highly rated. Spice in terms. So that already also tells you that radio, TV, that people still go. A bit of a bit deep in the newspaper consumption, but again you go to age, you find the people 50 and above still read newspapers and they still want the hard newspaper. There are people who are subscribing, but also those models have their own challenges. And I started noticing also that while, yes, we have a very vibrant digital media, but again, where does legacy media stop and where does that online media come? Because remember, most of you now newsrooms are running converged newsrooms, so that you can't say that this is digital media and you have seen in one of the ratings a few years ago, Standard website was rated one of the best. So how then do you say, for example, this is legacy media and Tuko is online? So a number of these blurred lines then start also dealing with the issue of you can't say one against the other. That complementarity is there. And sometimes people also mishandle the issue of the digital movement, that a number of our colleagues, like, for example, what was the trademark business for Standard Group? There was KTN and Standard, the newspaper, and then now the Red. So you can't say you'll kill all these products and run to start websites. You must maintain a balance so that then you don't lose, because there are people who just came to Standard because of the newspaper, for example. So you can't run away from them. So those are some of the statistics that are coming. Biggest news, so you see there's a mix, because you also notice that while digital is big and we can't appreciate, we can't ignore it, but you also start looking at other costs that relate to digital news, and you start noticing that a lot of people go online to get information, not news. So a lot of the people who go online are students who are in college looking for information to do their dissertation, and so they not necessarily go to online. You start noticing things like bundles. The cost of bundles in this country is quite a bit high, and how many people can read a whole newspaper on their phone using their bundles. So that also tells you something, that again, while we are saying that But the cost of energy, the cost of bundles, the issue of internet does not allow a lot of people to go to get their information news. So that's why you start still noticing that TV is still the biggest source of information for a lot of Kenyans. So those are some of the statistics that are coming out. Obviously, the issue of topics, the politics still, I mean, again, you look at politics, but in different ways. Is it the politics of the drama, or is it the politics of public policy and related? So those are some of the crime still rates very high. A lot of people would see an accident. The late Professor Magoha has died. Rest in peace, Prof. But you get it in your WhatsApp.
Yep.
But you want to go to Spice and confirm if is it true. So a lot of confirmation. People still go to Liberty Media to cross-check if that what I have seen on my digital platform is still the truth. So there's a lot of that movement of going this, moving there. So that those are the trends we are seeing. Obviously, people expected, and this, Eric, you have been in this country for long. People expected the government to receive media and say, we are very good friends, we must work together. That will never happen. The issue of tensions between government and media is global and historical. That we can't expect that. So to me, to expect that the DP regard will say, media come, we take tea, it's not there. So people must just do their work and don't expect this. You are a fourth estate, you have already a defined role, do your work and do it diligently and professionally, and some of these things will work out.
Speaking, Victor, of the defined role, I mean, we're looking at the trends, obviously, but looking at the side of the realization or the re-acknowledgement of journalists, and we say that we know the role of the fourth estate, do we find that over time that the potency of that knowledge has reduced, or has it increased, or has it maintained? Has it remained the same, that we know we still embrace the duty of journalism in Kenyan media? I'm not even looking at a global perspective, but in Kenya today, the role that journalists play. Media trust is still very high. At least I've read 2-3 other studies that is showing that trust in the media as a source of information, as an accountability or watchdog role is still there. People still respect the media. In fact, the biggest challenge we are having, from what I have seen and read, is the industry itself. There are a lot of disregard and mistreatment, or like what we are raising. It comes from the industry itself. While we cry so much about what the others are doing to us, but we never look at what we do to ourselves as an industry, as a profession. So that while other people are giving media respect and doing that, but that respect cannot come if you don't respect yourself. So as an industry, how much do we respect ourselves? How?
In the sense that, I mean, basic things. One, how for example, do we employ and sack journalists? You sack a journalist by an SMS at 1 a.m. What was in a hurry in sending somebody an SMS? Where's the human rights? If we are to sack Eric from Spice, there are processes. I mean, Eric will not die because you sack them my job, but there's a process. Why would you send you an SMS at 7 to sack you? That's dehumanizing of a person. Makes other people look at us that we write a lot of stories when people in industrial area are mistreated, not paid, is page 1. But when journalists are not paid, when journalists are mishandled in the newsroom, nobody talks about it. So how do we expect other people to respect us if we don't respect ourselves, if we don't respect the profession ourselves? So those are, if people stay working professionals, family persons, work for 6 months for 3 months without being paid, and a company is making money, then you allow your journalists to go and extort sources and extort other people, and you're telling people I don't know how my guys survive, they just drive big cars. That's an editor or a station manager speaking. So you look at this guy, are you normal? So how do you expect others to respect you if you don't respect yourself? So the respect must start, human rights observation must start at home. Then gradually, because we don't look at ourselves. Look at even the language you use in a newsroom. Sometimes harassing everybody. The journalism of 1972, where jeans and started jeans and t-shirt. Journalists are now people who have gone to school, graduate with a tie. So how do you handle such a person? So that the factory approach to managing a newsroom must change. People are now talking about human relations. We still have human resource departments in newsrooms, where people are still talking about how do you relate as a human. So media must also grow, and we are not saying everything is bad, but we must also grow and say, as a public accountability institution, as a fourth estate, that's minimum things we must do.
All those things that you've talked, Victor, are at management level, whether middle management or senior management, right?
Yes.
So as a media council, and you as a director in charge of training and development, I know you have a lot of programs as Media Council that look at training journalists on how best to, cover stories, how to develop their career. Are there any programs from the Media Council that look at how to manage media as an industry?
Yes, thanks. We have a whole curriculum on media viability, on media development. We have brought short courses because the issue of specialization also is a major thing. Remember, unlike our time when we used to do journalism as a postgrad, currently somebody starts with a certificate in journalism, a diploma in journalism, and remember, news values are the same, so that our curriculum does not enrich somebody to grow and get more expanded in knowledge. And that's why we have introduced short courses on climate change, on management, on media, photography, so that we help people also specialize with the general knowledge from the academy. Then you come and get short courses on a specialized area on business reporting, on the result that this then also makes you an expert.
That is on reporting. How about on management?
Management,
do you have proper? You've talked about human resource versus human relations and all. Are there programs where you've invited human resource departments from media houses, big or small, to actually come and go through this training?
Eric, we have a curriculum on media management, we have a curriculum on financial literacy for journalists, we have others. But one of the funny things is that journalists will rarely come for these things, even where we have paid for and everything is there. And the biggest even problem we are getting is with what we call now the big six or the mainstream media. Because outside, the community media, the small, the local-based media embrace this because they appreciate the role of management, resource mobilization, development of business plans for the media. But if I came here, you tell me Standard is a big media house. Do you think we don't have such things in our, So there's a lot of resistance yet we know there are some gaps that sometimes you benefit from some of these short courses. So we want, because we're also wondering, most of you, when they want to promote you, Eric, they will take you for a master's in business administration as well, one sort of master's in news reporting, or a lot of media houses are taking their staff of whom to Harvard, to business school. So at the bigger level, but at the lower level, we are running a very, 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 very deliberate program on media viability, and the media viability curriculum includes management, resource mobilization, development of business plans, mental health, and all that, because these are 360-degree approach to how we must help. So we just need people to embrace and attend, because a number of journalists also are too busy for themselves. That this newsroom is addictive. Yeah. That somebody will tell them there's a training here on this and this that might be helpful for your career growth. Somebody once starts with asking you how much you will pay them. Yet when I go to the University of Nairobi, I pay fees. So here I'm calling for a training, you're asking me how much I'll pay you. Then two, the thinking that a newsroom will die if you are not there. So even when Eric is on off, he must hang around the newsroom, and yet somebody has prepared a training for you. They have called a training. Bloomberg brought a very good course, which we did and started for journalists for growth. There's now some course at Khan University, and the Media Council itself is offering those courses. So we want to encourage journalists also at whatever level to embrace it, because again, as you grow, one time, for example, if you became a CEO of Standard Group, you need these management skills. So journalists must stop also just looking at themselves as only reporters, only news. We must also start looking at this. We must grow at some stage. At one time, you'll become your own manager of your own maybe production firm. Yeah. So we want to encourage journalists that these opportunities are there. We every day sit and think about how do we improve, because without journalists, Media Council will be regulating who?
Sure.
So we have every interest in having journalists there, and journalists who are competent and journalists who are comfortable and can work.
Journalists have also taken a hit recently, I guess over the last, a number of years, that, the art of chasing the story seems to be lost on a lot of journalists. The art of digging, beneath the surface to find out what's really going on, which is one element of journalism. I mean, it's not the whole thing, but it's one element for which people are very interested to hear. Investigative journalism, really finding out what the real story is. Do you agree with that? That we've lost a bit of the value?
Yes, big time. Investigative. I just did a study for an international group called Foyer Media Institute in Sweden on the state of investigative journalism in Africa. And I was the lead researcher, so I did almost all the countries in East. And while in other countries, there's a growth in investigative public interest journalism, not necessarily through mainstream media, but from digital platforms, Two, a number of journalists who leave mainstream media, maybe out of frustration. The Jonah Alan Namu, Mohammed Jitopevu issue with Standard. A number of journalists are moving out of mainstream media and forming collaborations and starting their own investigative. So there's generally a growth of investigative data journalism in Africa, generally. That's not happening in Kenya, because in Kenya we are only talking about African Uncensored, which is, but if you go to South Africa currently, you go to West Africa, especially Nigeria, a very big increase in investigative journalism, especially outside mainstream media houses through digital platform. Kenya, like we mentioned, yes, and this is also coming while all the time people are saying newsrooms have no time, have no resources to spend on deep investigative journalism. But I believe that's a very simplistic approach to dealing with a big issue. Because, for example, Media Council runs grants. We give journalists grants to go and do investigative journalism. So why would you say money is the problem? So let's not look for money to use money as a reason of why we are not doing journalism, simply because newsroom. Because I know, including Media Council, I know, including other international organizations that I know, you can pitch a story and you'll be given money to do that investigative journalism. So people should not run quickly and say newsrooms are not willing to, because even when we started the grant-making scheme of giving journalists some money to go and do stories, there was again a lot of resistance from mainstream media houses. Yet philanthropy journalism has taken root globally. I mean, that's a brand of journalism that is growing, and people are partnering, cross-border journalism. People are coming together and saying this is a public interest issue, and if it's just money, we can put together our resources and use Spice the platform, but we can support. So let's also people, and now some of the things that we also are finding problem that is impossible, and this is why I've talked to the Aga Khan University. We want to introduce a course on how to write grant-making stories, or stories, a grant application that can win you a story. Right. Because we have these grants, but even getting a journalist to just write a proposal on what he wants to go and do and budget is also a challenge.
Why is that a challenge?
Because we have limited ourselves to be just story writers,
right,
and we never think about life-saving skills that a journalist needs to know how to write a proposal. It's sometimes embarrassing, I can tell you, on air. We sometimes offer some mentorship for some of our journalists, some jobs, kidogo hapa na pale. You ask somebody to write an invoice. Send me your profile and your invoice. But someone lipe tu pesa yangu niende. You know, but that, some of these are processes. So we must also expand.
But everything you're saying seems to point towards an industry that seems to be collapsing. Because I've listened, and what dominates the conversation is the things that are wrong. Now, our journalism, I'm talking about, let's talk about Kenya. We live in a certain ecosystem. I am not a journalist in the conventional way of the term. Yes, I'm not a journalist. And so my views may be the views of somebody who is looking from the outside in. I'm now in, yes, but my views have been curated by being on the outside. And my understanding of journalism, and I'm looking at the challenge, it boils down to something that the ecosystem we have in this country has dominated. It's called entrepreneurship. So there are people who are die-hard journalists, people who, the old school variety of journalists who, truth seekers and people who want to raise the bar. And then it's against the headwinds of a whole crop of people who've joined that particular industry, that fraternity, and what they are espousing is the ethos of the day. And it's not just in journalism, it's in almost every other sector in this country. What is in it for me? Not whether I stand for the truth or whether I have this larger goal that I want to put across. And it's not just with the journalists, but also with the management. Because if you are talking about how something isn't quite working, the question that comes to my mind is, okay, are we seeing some of these things that we talk about, what you're referring to as mass sacking or retrenchment, are we seeing this as strategic undertakings, or are we seeing it as a display of incompetence? What exactly are we seeing?
Did you say that you're seeing like these are signs of a dying horse?
I'm on record, and I've written on record and it has been published in the Standard and other newspaper, and I've said that approach is wrong. It has never worked. It will never work. The issue of mass sackings and the way we are treating that problem is not. World Bank has done studies globally where they have said an industry or a company that is struggling cannot take the route of sacking or early retirement to survive, because when you use mass sacking or the approach of relieving people, retrenching, because even the people standard retrenched, they have never paid them their pension.
This is the World Bank.
So they can even go and sue them. So you have added the problem. And the World Bank says, studies have been done on companies.
The one that talks about privatization,
yes, and they have said,
and the removal of subsidies
and staff rationalization in government and all.
And their research, every successive government in this country, we have seen, Eric, when they come, they will talk about wage bill, we will sack, but it never happens. Has it ever happened?
Sacking of civil servants.
Yes, they always promise we'll remove this, we'll remove it, but they don't. Because
the last time it happened was structural adjustment program that the World Bank.
Yes.
And it failed miserably. So the reason is, they say, in a company, once you give people an opportunity to leave, for example, early retirement, or you want to sack them or whatever, you lose the best. Because the best, the young, the educated, the creative, the courageous will take their money and go and try something. The company remains with people who have lost hope, and it cannot survive with that. So that one we have said a lot of time, that the issue of mass sackings can never solve the problem in the industry.
City, give him some Minute Maid. It's time for a Minute Maid break. But Juice.
Huyu mzee ndampatia energizer kidogo. Afurahie.
It's what? Vavavum. What is it? The Vitisho. Minute Maid. Victor. It gives you Vituso.
Sio vituko.
Vituso. Yes. So choose that one. It is that's apple. This is tropical. Lakini tropical usikunywe hii ni yangu. This is mango.
Nectar mango.
Okay. Safi. Let's take that break. 26 minutes to 9. Victor Bwire is the director in charge of media training and development at the Media Council of Kenya, talking about the state of the media in Kenya. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
You tune into Kenya's biggest conversation. My name is Ramanyang.
Amen. Amen.
So 1 hour is over?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. It gets over.
Can you imagine
in 20 minutes?
What the big boys have also done?
I'm very proud of myself. When you understand about partnership in politics, it's like the way marriage is these days. When you're looking for a wife, you're like, maybe you can help me pay for fees as I pay for the rent.
Why should you have a lioness living in your bedroom?
I have to tell you a story. I went for a prayer meeting, which was called for the spouses of candidates for senators and governors. And when I got to the gate, the lady who was the secretary, she refused to. She's telling me, no. Leo tunataka wa mama. Leo ni wa mama. I'm telling her, no. She said, no, sio siku yenu. And I thought, there's a problem here, because if it was a man, but this was a lady.
It will be called First Ladies.
Cloudy conditions, partly sunny in Nairobi, highs of 27 and lows of 15. It's sunny at 16 in Nakuru, highs of 30 and lows of 11. 27 will be the high in a sunny Nyeri at 14, and it's 16 and mostly cloudy in Eldoret, highs of 26 and lows of 11. Looking into Mombasa, it's 27 and sunny. It's 26 and sunny in Malindi, going to highs of 31, and it's 21 and sunny in Kisumu. We'll see highs of 30, where we'll see highs of 32. In Kakamega, that's currently sunny at 22. Looking out into Kampala, it's 21. We'll go to highs of 28, and we'll see highs of 32 in a partly sunny Dar es Salaam at 27. It's 19 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 28, and it's clear morning in Lagos at 26. We'll see highs of 33. 29 will be the high in a cloudy Kinshasa at 23.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Still in the middle of traffic hour, and we're seeing quite a lot of it in different parts of the city, north, south, east, and west. Not sure which is best, but it's everywhere. Coming out of Western, it's pretty heavy. It's touching on Naivasha, connecting with Gong Road, and then out towards Riara Road. Continues well into Gitanga and out towards James Gishuru. That traffic continues, and we're also looking at some of it still heavy on the Thika Superhighway as well as Kiambu Road. Looking into Gigiri, Limuru Road, coming past United Nations Avenue. Traffic still continues there, and it's moving slowly this morning. All right, Mombasa Road hasn't done too poorly. It's faring well, going towards the Nyeri Stadium roundabout. Thereafter, you might be stuck just a tad. There's traffic coming off of Langata Road. It continues. Let's see what happens in half an hour, shall we? Okay, SpiceFM, KE on Twitter.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Continues with Victor Bwire from the Media Council of Kenya. City, had you finished asking your question?
No, I hadn't actually.
Okay.
I hadn't, because you see, remember, this is a perspective of a lay person who just only recently joined this fraternity that we refer to as the media. And what I believe was big on the agenda and what made media what it was something I could refer to as a social responsibility. And it was laced with an acceptable aspect about it, in that there was integrity attached to it. But then, how then do you marry this with a profit-making venture that is also part and parcel of the media's mandate, because it's a business? And then what do you do when the money-making venture, especially at the individual level, where one uses the platform of, say, a media house or the business of media to make profit for yourself, and yet your primary mandate is as an employee? So the very, very, very tool and the very, very essence of this particular business stands a very great chance of being compromised. That is, the truth now takes a back seat, and profit and the pursuit of it takes the pivotal role.
Thanks. There are people who do, like you said rightly, the primary role of the media is the social responsibility. And there are institutions that have played that role so well up to date. We are facing challenges, but we are not saying journalism is dead. I mean, that's not the conclusion. There's a very bright future and things are happening. The only thing is that to assume that nothing is happening and keep quiet and assume, then you miss it. Because if you look at journalism purely from a commercial sense to make money, and which most of our media houses are doing, to make money alone, then you also lose it. There must be a balance between making the money, because this is an investment, it must make returns, but at what level are we saying we will serve the public if our interest is purely commercial? And that balance has been done elsewhere. It's not a magic. It's just people coming to sit down and say, how much do we... You remember the rule of 60 to 40? 60 editorial, 40 commercial, or you can decide 50-50 or 40 commercial. These are discussions and models that have worked elsewhere. It's not a magic thing. And what media is requesting is not a favor from anywhere, but there are models that have worked. We want to make profits because it's a business. It must have running costs. Yes. And that's genuine. But we also have a social responsibility of some of these things. Not every story we must look at how much money it will bring. Some of these things we do them because of public interests. So how do we balance? And people have worked. In fact, there's a team that has been sent to India, Mawaya, and they are saying, if, for example, media houses are feeling the pinch because of global, COVID, post, and those are realities. Nobody's lying. I mean, refusing that. But are there other approaches we can use, for example, so that we continue serving the public? And processes have worked. For example, why do we sell a newspaper in Kenya at 60 shillings? The cost of production for a newspaper in Kenya is too high. And sometimes a lot of the money goes either to taxes or to other operational costs. How do we deal with this? Why, for example, as a discussion, can we as an industry and what India has done in law and approach government and say, because of the challenges, and other sectors have gone through KEPSA, Kenya Private Sector Lines, people, and approach a government and we say, we can zero rate or reduce taxes on newsprint, because that's one of the most expensive item when a newspaper making. Equipment for broadcasting is so high to import in this country. I mean, as an approach, it can be a temporary measure, and industry reaches out and says government can consider, so that then cost can go towards maintaining journalists who bring these stories. You see, it's not an either or. There are other ventures where the industry, and that's part of the discussion actually, either this week or next week, the industry is meeting, that it's no longer about journalists alone. The investors, the media managers, advertisers, commercial, people must come to the table and say, remember yesterday in Tanzania, the government has set up a task force to look at what is ailing the industry. Can media continue playing the public role if it's in the current state? If we are talking about content is the king, because people primarily want that good content for public service, for public interest. But we are not saying about content is the king when you have sacked all the people who have been bringing the content. So where are you getting this content that should be the king?
But
so
what has made you sack them? It's because you don't have the money to actually sustain
and that's
them.
what I'm saying. When we look at money per se, then we miss the whole thing. They are challenge. In some countries like the Scandinavian countries, there's what is called a media diversity fund, where government supports media, whether it's private or not. But they made up a case that for us to continue serving the public interest, the challenges of operational costs, we need support. And those countries have a media support fund, where government, from the taxpayers' money, they support media because they know the critical role of media. There are countries like Australia. South Africa has now a media fund. These things are possible. So we are saying that we cannot just say because of money we give up and say now it's profit. But if we are getting these challenges and we can't do the private, the social responsibility, how else can we? Let's also look at the supply. Are we supplying content that meets the social responsibility? But if we give up and allow, fail to meet, for example, pay journalists because shareholders must get a profit at the end of the month, and we are not, and we allow our journalists to become extorters in town, then we are failing. That's how the private interest, then, because a guy gets a public interest story, then he has not paid rent for 2 months, then the guy says, kill this story, I'll give you some 10,000. So, so those are challenges, yes. But what we are saying that something can be done about it. It's not that it's a lost cause.
But then, that's where the institutions such as the Media Council could come in. So you are quasi-government.
Yes.
Then there is the Communications Authority, which licenses media houses. We've got the Media Owners Association, which is now bringing together the owners of media houses, mainly mainstream media, and there's government itself. Let me start with the government. Government attitude towards media can be seen with how government supports the public broadcaster, KBC.
Yes.
Okay? And if we just look at how much attention KBC gets from its mother, then you can just see
huge.
Government does not really think media is any important. Where do you come in there to make sure that, first of all, the first thing that you do is protect the public broadcaster, so the public broadcaster remains vibrant and relevant to the country?
Eric, one of the things, and I had this discussion about KBC, about GA, and there's a lot of misinformation. The government spends so much money on KBC that when somebody says, and books are there, you can go to Treasury website and look at how much money government gives KBC. It's not a private, it's not secret. So and successively, I can tell you, because we sit with the KBC in the same subsector, we are in the same ministry. And I see KBC making their budgets, how much they are allocated. It might not meet what they want. I mean, just like all public institutions. But government has been supportive to KBC. Without and most of the programs.
Is it supportive for development, or is it supportive for maintaining, just sustaining it?
It's not just
what I'm asking is it sufficient support? Is it what the public broadcaster needs to stay afloat and to serve that social good and the public good?
Sometimes, many times, like now, KBC is among the key institutions government is reforming to make it a public, like the law requires. So that's a priority to government. So if it was not caring about KBC, it wouldn't have been a priority to the current government. They are even forming a task force very soon that will transform KBC into a proper public broadcaster.
Meaning it isn't a proper
today, as it is a state broadcaster. It was never moved as the constitution expected. It's still a state broadcaster. So those are some of the things that are happening. But like I mentioned, it's just like Kenyatta National Hospital. Sometimes when you hear something has happened, you never look at how much request that Kenyatta give to government for support, so that if they are unable to do one or two things, I'm just using Kenyatta. Yeah. So KBC puts a request to government. It's true. Sometimes government does not give them fully all they want, just like even the Media Council gives a budget to government which is never fully funded. But government has been responsive. I have seen when Dr. Naim Bilal came, when managing director Samuel Maina, government gives. And things are not the way people think outside. At KBC today, if you visit KBC today, obviously it's not full satisfaction that all people would want, but there are a lot of transformation, there are a lot of things that happen. Some of these things are purely management things, but I can tell you there's a lot of change. So that's there in terms of support. And we have engaged, in different manners. So KBC has not been abandoned as it were. And there's a lot of engagement. There are also a lot of historical things at KBC that also at the time there was a huge loan of equipment from Japan that grew, but the government has taken over that loan now to Treasury. So there's a lot of positive vibes, positive engagements from the government towards KBC, and which has been there. If we looked at I remember some of the bills they had were cleared. There's a time KBC had a problem with medical cover. Government came in. There was a time they had other issues of debts and what. So there are a lot of things that have been done. There was a lot of the issue of statutory deductions. They were not being remitted, and which affected obviously staff morale and the rest. But some of those things have been strategically been dealt with. They have not been completely cleared. But there's a lot of positive development about public broadcasting, as it were. But again, you also notice in a country where media space is dominated purely by private broadcasters, and that's the question you ask: private but social responsibility. Because you go to people are what is called impulsive investment in media, and media is treated as an extractive industry. Come, open a radio station, make money and go away, or make money, buy a house in Runda or somewhere. So people are not reinvesting in the industry. That's one of the major problems. Radio is making business, but you go to places like, for example, Meru town. Meru has nearly over 14 radio stations, 6 TV stations. And you look at the market and the number of mouths. You obviously start noticing this is not investment for public good. This is purely somebody who is making opens, picks money, and especially along election time. So a number of the investors also in media. Look at, for example, a newspaper like Taifa Leo. For quite some time, Aga Khan used to maintain that newspaper, not because it was making money, but he just said it's a public good and we need people to read. And he used to sustain it. And one of the discussions we were having yesterday, when things were good, some of these companies were keeping money elsewhere. They have foundations, they have what. But we also have a challenge where, for example, a board of a media house has stayed over 30 years. These people, even what they are thinking now about that industry, today is a profession. Yet, some of these things are changing too far. Look at our media houses and look at their boards. They have overstayed, some of them. They don't move, there's no changing. Yet, boards are the people that bring the policy and thinking. So once people are comfortable, the board, once the CEO reports profit from Standard, the board is relaxed, then it becomes a problem. So there are administrative things, there are legal things, obviously in the law, and like we mentioned, we have said the public good of media is going down because of cost related, because of post motive, and that's why we are saying the media industry is putting a request to government to consider introducing a media diversity fund to support media. But there are also corporate issues in the media that must be handled. If we are going to get all the little money we get and we are not reinvesting in the industry to get that public good, the social responsibility. Every time the little money we get, we sponsor golf tournaments, we other things that are not related to media, but at the same time we are complaining how we don't have resources to maintain journals, then we're also missing it. So there must be a conversation. One time one senior editor said, when we are laying off people from jobs, we look at those who earn high. So it's not about the productivity of somebody. You are just sacking somebody because was it a crime to earn a high salary?
You're looking at the bottom line. You need.
But it's not a crime for somebody to earn high. Why do you sack somebody because he's earned? In the first place, it's you who started.
Can take it and share it amongst others.
And two, you notice also, the people, the mass sackings as it were, are not serving it. You are sacking 300 people who have been paying 15,000, 27 shillings per centimeter or 500 shillings per clip when they send here story. So you look at the 200 people you have sacked, what is the saving? It's not even there. So some of these things we are just bringing a bad name to the industry for nothing. Because they are not helping the industry to go where it is. There are more approaches that can be used.
But are you saying that some of the actions that you're referring to are not actually informed by data? They are not informed by facts. They are not informed by an understanding of what is actually happening.
Today you will sack 100 mass sackings. Tomorrow I'll see an advert, standard employee. So what data has informed? Because I see one media house in Bungoma has sacked all. They have not paid for their staff for 6 months. They have sacked. Today I'm seeing an advert, they are recruiting. So if it was informed, if you have, then why are you repeating this? Because the same people who are being, some of them are sacked from permanent contracts, but the following day they are retained back to be the columnists, to be the everything. So some of these things is what. So that's what we are saying. There's too much focus on the supply side. We're also not looking at the demand side. What is what does the audience want? And how do we satisfy this audience?
But you
demand?
as a media council, what have you done, or what do you do, or do you plan to do to remedy this situation? Because you have a clear understanding of it. You are the media council after all.
Yes. One of the challenge which we have surpassed that we have been having is the issue of ego and personal look at things. This is an industry issue. It's no longer about standard. It's no longer about nation. It's no longer about capital. It's now a media industry issue that people must come to the table and discuss. And that's why I would say in the meeting that is coming up, because we have raised some of these things, but somebody will say, we are a big company, we have invested, we have taken our managers to Harvard, we don't need your support. But you dismiss me today, but tomorrow I see you have that problem. So what we are saying that people must stop and say, let's come together to a table and have a dialogue on how are we salvaging the industry. It's no longer about you as the executive or me. It's about an industry that is obviously, like you mentioned, when people are being sacked, they are losing jobs, and yet other industries are being helped to grow, to employ. As we are going down to. So what we have decided is that as an industry, because we have some of this discussion, we have gone to these countries, we have seen how, I was giving an example of Vision in Uganda, Vision newspaper, which is, had almost gone, it's also a public newspaper, but it's coming by. We have given an example from Guardian, New York, those are examples, and others. So what we are saying that not is just people to come and say, as an industry, there are administrative things that purely are standard. There are legal things that need industry approach for government to change a few to create a conducive working environment for media to make some profit. And then there are other alternatives that media can use. You see, like when I bring a donor, for example, a African who wants to fund some public interest, something on climate change for the Standard. Or I'm just using the Standard because I'm in the Standard, so it's not. That's what you're doing. Then Standard asks me, you are bringing somebody to help us do it. What is the interest? Are they going to influence our editorial? But we are saying
it's a legitimate concern.
These guys are giving you their resources. Media Council gives grants. But we never follow a journalist to ask which story. So long as you do your story and publish, that's it. Eric, you remember Amref used to take us out to go to look for in their project. Amref would carry you with a chopper, go. They will never tell you even which story, which angle you want to take. They will just take you to get you. So even if you want to hit them, that's your business. And there are purely some people who are just interested in the public interest, that if we allow media to just rely on the commercial approach, they are going to die.
How do you vet those? How do you vet to make sure that their intention is clear and it's noble? Because then you'll also agree that there are those who will, say that they're sponsoring a journalist so that they can curate a story. They'll curate an itinerary so that the journalist just sees one side of a story, and the journalist will not be facilitated to actually get to see the other side of the story. By the time they come back, they only have one view.
Eric, I've seen a number of CEOs for media signing MOUs with the governors. I see them. So the agreement are supposed to help media not to cover those counties negatively or what. So on one side we are saying we don't want to engage, on the other side we are signing MOUs. So one of the things is, for example, a group like Bill Gates, for example, I'm just using it. They will sign with you abroad agreement and allow you to run that country, those resources the way you want. They are not there to micromanage.
Actually, no.
So philanthropy, journalism,
very
and
rarely,
you can read.
Very rarely do donors allow you
But we run
to
run
the money the way you want.
We run a grant ourselves.
Are you telling me that you're given a grant without conditions?
Yes, we give.
No,
and you can ask
not
people.
You, the people who. Where do you get the grant money from?
The government of Kenya.
Okay, and you're saying there are no stipulations
There
as
are
to
no.
how the grant can
from
be
the
used.
government of Kenya.
Ask any journalist from Standard who have won that award and ask if we give
grants? Do you get grants from other institutions that are not government?
No, largely we work with. We are fully funded. So our grant
argument
system
is the other. Government has this overall responsibility. Now, these other institutions have an agenda.
Eric, and that's why when we get stuck in the old model of thinking of editorial discretion that journalists, once you give them money, they become this stamp, they just write the story you want, then we are missing it. You have gone to school, Mwami, and you are a very highly educated person, and somebody cannot just mislead you to write a wrong story because he gave you some 100,000. Let's be frank. We had a media fund. You remember all the donors came together through the Kenya Media Fund, HIVOS. They used to give money up to, between 200 to 500. You just write a proposal, we give. John Alanam, currently, what does he do? He works with donors. Why aren't those donors influencing his stories? And we are saying John Alanam is one of the best public interest investigative journalists who is working with freelance to do stories. Why does it become a problem to Standard that say that this donor will influence our story? Why? Are we saying that we are unable to say you can't cross?
Touche. Sawa.
I mean, so because those are the approaches, philanthropy journalism has become one of the areas where institutions that are interested in public interest, the social responsibility of media, are willing. Some of the donors are even anonymous. They just some of these subscribers in some of this New York Guardian are people who just want to know, and they subscribe anonymously because they want to support the public good. So we must also open up some of these discussions, and we are able to know. I mean, the whole Standard management will be able to know this is a donor who has bad intentions. This has good intentions. I mean, so we should not run and hide.
Thank you. Let's get out of the box and think.
Indeed.
Okay. Victor Bwire is the Director for Media Training and Development at the Media Council of Kenya. He's been here. We'll be talking about the state of the media in Kenya. Keep it here. In the next hour, we have more conversations. It's now 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Time for the news. Good morning, Kenya. It's 9. The news at the top of the hour. Top of the Vibes Radio.
Good morning. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Kenya and France have agreed to enhance their cooperation in developmental projects. The two countries have further undertaken to diversify and harness existing business opportunities between them. In a meeting between President William Ruto and Emmanuel Macron at Elysee Palace, the two leaders admitted to further cooperation in peace and security in the East African region. They acknowledged that Kenya and France enjoy warm and cordial historical relations that continue to grow on an upward trajectory. Now, Pastor Dorcas Rigathi has expressed concern over the continued negligence of the boy child in the country, while focus has been shifted to the female gender. Pastor Dorcas, the wife of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, spoke after visiting the NYS headquarters and Textile Government Training Institute in Ruaraka, Nairobi, and NYS Yata Farm in Machakos County in pursuit of a partnership with the government institution in implementing our agenda for Kenya. Dorcas cast her vision for the country in a meeting held with top officials of NYS. She added that the security of the nation could be improved without empowering the boy child, who comprised the greatest number of those involved in drug and substance abuse, radicalization and other security issues. Now, the Cabinet Secretary for Education, Ezekiel Machoga, has asked administrators of university education institutions to safeguard the quality and standards of the education they give students. Machoga said the leadership of universities should ensure effects caused by the problem of quality and standards of education they provide are minimized. He said university must be impactful in their community. Now, Machakos University staff have laid down their tools after their demands allegedly went unresolved by the institution's management. Key among them delayed and denied promotions. The staff is drawn from the Kenya University Staff Union and the University Academic Staff Union accused the University Vice-Chancellor Lucien Dungu of failing to provide an amicable solution to those addressing the press after hours of demonstration and picketing around the university. The workers led by Machakos KUSU Secretary General Silvanus Mukai said the university management had failed to award promotions to the members for the last 10 years. And the Law Society of Kenya and Transparency International Kenya are in court challenging the appointment of former Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu Baba Yao as a member of the Nairobi Rivers Commission. The petitioners claim that Waititu is incompetent for any appointment by the head of state, either upon the advice of the Attorney General or otherwise on his own motive, not only to being a commissioner of the 4th Nairobi Rivers Commission, but also to any public office as a state officer independently. They now want the court to stop Waititu from assuming office at the commission and indefinitely to any public office. And police in Tarbo, Wasingishu County have launched a manhunt for a man accused of killing his 1-week-old stepson. Daniel Kipchumba is said to have tricked his wife into going outside the house to call for help after feigning sickness in the 4 a.m. incident. A police report released said Kipchumba had reunited with his wife of 12 years, Grace Atwoli, in December last year after they separated in 2019. She was at the time heavily pregnant from a relationship with another man. Kipchumba is said to have told his wife that he was feeling unwell and asked her to call his mother and his second wife to assist him get to hospital. But when she returned accompanied by a stepmother and co-wife, the husband could not be found. The three were met with the lifeless body of the week-old baby lying on a mattress with visible marks on the neck covered with blood. Now, in DR Congo's bustling capital Kinshasa, the faithful are flocking to impromptu market stalls in churchyards to buy t-shirts and wax t-shirts adorned with the image of Pope Francis ahead of the pontiff's visit. Purple souvenirs have become hot-selling items in the city ahead of the Argentinian Pope's 4-day trip to the deeply religious and Central African country, which begins on January 31st. Many in the Democratic Republic of Congo view the papal visit as a chance to soothe tension in the east, where M23 rebels have captured swaths of territory since last year and provoked a humanitarian crisis. Over 1 million worshippers are expected to turn out for an open-air mass in Kinshasa Ndolo Airport on February 1st, a sizable portion in the mega city of over 15 million. The DRC is a traditionally Catholic nation of over 90 million people, deeply impoverished despite vast mineral wealth. Now, a stifling heat wave that has swept parts of South Africa in recent weeks has killed 8 people over several days. The dead were mostly farm workers in the sparsely populated and largely semi-arid North Cape Town province, which borders Namibia and Botswana. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
Traffic on Vibes Radio. Yo, good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, so we're still looking at it heavy in some parts of the city. On Mombasa Road, traffic continues, and we're looking at a little bit here and there on Mombasa Road, heading out past the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. It's going to continue for some time, but we're coming to the end of traffic hour. Western still busy, in the CBD, quite busy as well. Keep an eye on things. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
9. Welcome to the final hour of the Situation Room today. We're here until 10 a.m. Yo juzi ulikubali?
Ati till 10 a.m. Sio nimekubali.
Yo umekubali? Na juice pia umekubali kukunywa?
Ndani.
Okay. Because throughout the day, as you're facing your day, make sure that you know you have access to Minute Maid for Minute Maid breaks. For flavor and for what? That one.
Yes. Is there a word for that thing? Is there a word? It should be need.
Yeah, it's the It's the oohs and the ahs.
Exactly.
You go for the oohs and the ahs. So, Professor George Magoha died yesterday. And, people have just been sending their messages of condolence and looking back into the man himself and what he did for the education sector. Being in charge of the education sector at various critical points in the recent past. Number one is the exam scandal. He was the chairman of the Kenya National Examinations Council at the point when there was a whole hue and cry countrywide. Students cheating in exam. Is there exam cheating? Is there leakage? Is the Kenya National Exam Council actually foolproof that when they set the exam and they deliver the exam, they are not going behind themselves to leak their own exam to the students? And he was the chair of NEC at the point. He came in and they restructured NEC and they said, put in measures.
Plug all the holes.
Yeah. And we saw the following years, there was a change.
Reduction.
Man then was taken to the education ministry as minister. And he came in at the point where now, all right, so there's been some start-stop limping here and there of the rollout of the CBC. And he was like, okay, so this one, let's go. CBC rolled out and he managed the rollout of CBC. COVID came. He was the man in charge. Millions of children gone home. People started asking, so when are schools resuming? And he would keep saying,
I will not be responsible for anybody's
I
death.
cannot say when schools are resuming because I'm not the one who said schools should close. The decision on closing schools was informed by COVID, which is a health emergency. And so the health ministry will tell us when we are safe enough to take the children back to school. And he was adamant on that. And remember, we kept having conversations. Yeah, this man is not clear. The Ministry of Education. And then they came up with that whole calendar of saying, this is a recovery calendar of the school terms. Through those 2 years, now we are back to the proper calendar.
Indeed, started yesterday.
He managed that. So, did he perform well? Did he not?
Well, I mean, this is the question, and you have to ask yourself, against what are you measuring this performance? You know,
against expectations.
Exactly. If it's against expectations, you will have your split in terms of what he did or didn't do right or wrong. The manner in which he, led education sector. Many will tell you that under his leadership, there are many things that then came out clearly. The cheating that you've spoken about, that seemed to have been nipped in the bud, and it was made very clear how folks were going to be dealt with. Did he circumvent a potential disaster, a health disaster, by saying, look, I will not be responsible for any child getting sick or dying by sending them back to school in the throes of a pandemic? Did he circumvent a potential disaster and shut his ears to every noise that everybody was making? Come back to school, don't come back to school. Many would say yes, absolutely. He could have said, okay, it's not so bad in Kenya, where today acting director is telling us that, Kenya has reached herd immunity. Could he have said, okay, let everybody just go back to school. If we get this thing, we get this thing. But did he circumvent a potential disaster by saying children stay at home? And have we not just gotten back to it where exams, did they not take place? Did people not pass or not pass and then go on to the next? They did. And are we not back now? Children have gone back to school. And the hiccups have almost been forgotten, n'est-ce pas?
The question that comes to mind, though, is every time we look at the education sector and all the problems that bedevil that particular sector, a new CS comes into the ministry. And the question that comes to mind is, what difficulties, what obstacles do these individuals encounter? Sustained bureaucratic cultures that have been there for the longest possible time.
Yeah.
Because, and these are the direct counters to the efforts that are being made. Remember, it's also during his watch that we had precious talent.
Mm-hmm.
And the problems that arose there came about. And there were all these efforts to try and ensure that the ministry, through the supervisory efforts, ensure that all schools are safe environments for students. And yet, the stories persisted and continued. So one has to ask, there's someone who clearly seems determined to bring about change, and yet you don't see the change coming in as quickly as you may like. So the question of what are these obstacles that one faces when actually one seems to have started off on a trajectory of actually wanting to bring about change. There's something that Professor Magoha also did during his tenure as the Vice Chancellor of the University of Nairobi.
Yes.
It's a very interesting thing. The University of Nairobi was often characterized by just students going on strike and kicking a huge and massive ruckus.
Yep.
Now, in the time he was there, I think it was a 10-year period. You know, that died. One hardly. These demonstrations, rioting, doing whatever with the students somehow ceased to be.
Yeah.
It's like the students' organization, the way that their business was run, was restructured. Now, what am I getting at? I'm getting at the mindset of a person who was clearly a lateral thinker. So someone who just didn't think in the way, okay, there's a problem, this is the way you solve it. No. Let's look for other ways of resolving this particular issue. But then, when it comes to the Ministry of Education, I have to admit, there seems to be a monster at large there. Because if somebody has the mindset to bring about change, and you've seen in the way they do things, and then they're given a docket, and you hear the huffing and puffing is in the right direction, you look for the change, it occurs, but it's in dribbles, and you're wondering, so what is holding this thing up? What else does somebody has to contend with when they're actually trying to implement or trying to make sure that these things work? Because the one thing that the CS for Education, the late Professor George Magoha did, he didn't wait to be told. He went around the country. We saw it over and over and over and over.
He was physically present all out there.
Yes.
All over.
Yes, he was. So, again, the larger question with people who are actually change agents and then decisively so, what entrenched cultures do they encounter when they are given a docket that requires a certain degree of attention and they have a very clear idea of what needs to be done, and then you find it doesn't get done? It's a question I would ask of now the CSs and the new PSs whom we actually have. What are they going to encounter?
Can they change anything much?
Yes.
You know?
Valid question.
And I think maybe it goes into how much power do they actually wield?
Yes.
Because you may come in there, yes, you're the CS, yes, but I'm a civil servant. You can't just get up and fire me, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
umenipata hapa
ukienda
utaniacha tu hapa, tumeona wengi. And this is how we've been doing things. Or people come and tell you yes sir, and they'll tell you yes sir for the next 6 months, attending meetings every week.
Yes sir.
Oh yes sir.
Report coming sir.
Coming sir. Yes sir. In fact, what now we have is now we are waiting for now the other report now to come from our county officers, and we are consolidating that. But what we are seeing so far is so by in the next 3 weeks, sir, it'll be ready.
Yes sir.
Next 3 weeks come in. Yeah, it is ready. Only that now we are doing validation because some of the information that was coming, we realized that some of our officers were sending information in the wrong format. So some were putting on PDF, the others were putting on JPEG.
As opposed to a Word document.
As opposed to a Word document. So now we are working on that just to harmonize it. Then we can now present it in a comprehensive manner. Another 3 weeks. Yes, sir.
Before you know, it's June.
Kusha.
And with June, some other issues will come about.
Yes.
And work was expected to have been completed.
Yes.
By that time.
Yes. The report should have been there 6 months prior, and that report is still not there.
You know, we are still waiting for a comprehensive report of the schools around the country who perhaps might be in a dilapidated situation.
We know
October 31st,
they were shut down, and that was it.
Hey.
Schools were shut down.
October 31st, 2019.
As to whether they remained shut, that's a different story altogether also.
Whether they reopened and continued business.
Yeah, it's a whole different story. How many classrooms were actually constructed? All those things.
And then look at all the plans the government put in place. First of all, there's that universal furniture problem. Remember it?
Yep. Part of the COVID stimulus.
Yes.
To the fundis.
Yes.
Construct
desks. Local fundis.
Yeah. Construct desks so that those desks can be distributed in schools.
Yes.
And the other one.
And then we know how that went, didn't we? Hence the question. What is it that one faces when you have a plan that sounds good, is intended to be good, it's being presented, and somehow the results are never really that good?
What leads to this?
What actually happens? What are these cultures that these leaders encounter when they are taken to these various ministries or departments? Because you talk to them and you say, no, this guy clearly knows what they want to do. Clearly. And you even see steps.
So do you think, going just riding with that, do you think this new directive by the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Trade on headmasters and school uniforms is going to be adhered to? Because the whole directive here is the school principal tells you the uniform. You go and get the uniform, you send your child to school with that uniform. They cannot tell you, you must buy uniform from shop X. They can suggest where you can buy the school uniform.
Unless, of course, the way they are suggesting is the only one that exists.
If you go to that uniform where they've suggested and they said, this is it, they can give you the logo. You go and embroider yourself. But they don't say that you must get your school uniform from shop X. Do you think this is going to work?
No.
This one?
Why?
They can say, yes, we hear you. Are you not the one who just gave us the example of the fella who says, we've not finished, but give us some 3 weeks? They'll tell you, yes, they'll do it. But then now, go to the ground and see and hear the people where they'll tell you suddenly, we said that you can buy from any shop. But those shops where we said you can buy from, the thing is not available. It is only available from this one person.
So what are you going to do?
But so it's the onus is on the other knees. Because you see, the Minister for Trade, him is looking at the trader. Okay? So it's then the traders to know, I serve this particular catchment area, there are X number of schools, and these are the school uniforms for these schools. If you're a shop and you're not stocking the uniform, then you're basically giving a leg up to the only one.
Exactly. But
so the onus then is on every other. It's open business. So let the others also.
As with other directives that we have seen where there has been a blanket statement, okay, we will not allow this to continue. Are they not the same ones where the same directive came out when we also looked at when schools were opening and they said, do not send away children if they have not completed their school fees.
How did that work?
Did you hear that every child remained in school? Did you hear? No. People were still sent home.
Yes.
For the first few days, they can say, okay, let's have a conversation. And that directive, in terms of its heat, will die down. Moving along, if you've not paid school fees, you will not come to school.
But the one which actually stands out...
there was a directive from the ministry.
Remember once upon a time when head teachers were directed by the government, the ministry, you cannot increase fees.
Or you cannot be charging this supplementary thing that they say, come and bring extra money for whatever it was.
This is the fee guideline.
Yes, how did that work?
Really?
This is the minimum fee that you can pay, and this is this and this.
Maximum.
This is the other. And how did that work?
And then they also said, there are many examples. They also said that parents should not be charged a supplementary fee that will contribute to the building of a dorm or that will contribute to the purchasing of
Development
a school
fee.
bus. Development fee. Did they not say that such things should stop?
Yes.
Okay, do a spot check just in Nairobi. Don't even go to Machakos. Don't go to Kajiado. Nairobi.
Public schools.
Yes. And see if there are students who do not receive that slip, and under the item is development fee, 6,300.
Dormitory, school bus, library.
So now you want to come and say that because the CS has spoken and said, do not sell uniforms at school and make sure the uniforms are available everywhere. They will say, yes, sir, thank you, please. Next week.
But then it also comes to the other thing that you raised, City, as a former chair of a BOM, and thank you for your service, sir.
You're very welcome, sir.
The thing is, the logic of it and the reality of it. If, as a school, you're looking for uniformity of the uniform, so you've come up, this is the actual color Pantone for the uniform. This is the blue, and this is the gray, and this is the white, or the maroon. You want that uniformity.
Yes.
It's best if you actually dealt with a supplier and told them, this is what we are dealing with.
Yes.
So you supplier, go source material, but make sure that you stock this.
What
then we will advise our parents to come and buy from you. That is the logic.
It is.
And that is what has led to schools saying, go and buy a uniform from such and such a shop. Because we know such and such a shop is actually stocking what we require.
Yes.
I don't have a problem with the initial intention. But you know what has happened? Through this process, it has been bastardized. That people then see a loophole and they say, So, it is possible for this school to say that this is what they want, 1, 2, 3, and they say, okay, this is the uniform, because that's what it is.
Yes.
Uniformity. And that they actually see how they can make it cheaper. But you know what has happened over time? That the head teacher, in collusion with the
trader,
will now say, you know what, Eric, I can do this thing for you. So you just make me the sole provider of this thing. So what do you have? You have carte blanche when it comes to how much you can charge. You have carte blanche when it comes to how many you will then provide. There are people who say, come on Tuesday, it's not ready. Come on. Whereas if you went to the outfitters, you get them in plenty at the price. But why should you get it at plenty at a lower price when you can get it all from myself at a higher price?
How about this? Two things then. Okay, let's just see. Victor Buri has told us, let's think out of the box. Two things. One, how about do away with school uniforms altogether?
Then you
or number two, standardize all school uniforms. Everybody who is in junior secondary school, this is the uniform.
Everybody wears green.
Everybody wears the colors of the Kenyan flag.
Same way, all school buses are yellow.
So every school has the same uniform.
I was going to take it further.
Thank you very much.
All prison uniforms.
All prison uniforms.
But
all
see,
police.
The problem with no school uniform is the problem that you have at universities that were opening the other day, and there were people stopping them at the gate saying, you have pierced your nose, go home. Your skirt is too short, go home.
Where is the problem?
I'm just telling you that people will rock up. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry will rock up wearing what they like.
No. Listen. So there'll be standards.
When you say wear what you want, then it's uniform now.
There'll be the length of the skirt or
uniform
the dress.
By definition is standard.
Blah 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 blah. You will say there'll be standards. You'll be saying so you can come with whatever you want. Just the same way there's no uniform for hair, but there are standards for hair, right? Your hair must be this length. If you're a girl, this is how your hair should look like. And
if you're going to plait your hair, this is what you must do.
What you must do. But now you're not told that you must go to Mama so and so to plait your hair.
Do it. I like how you guys are saying plait.
It's not plate.
It's plate, yes, but it's plait one eye.
No, I like it. It's very nice.
No.
Yes.
You know. Let me now
so
speak as
those two things, either remove school uniforms altogether.
All of Kenya wears one uniform.
Yes. So you can buy uniform wherever.
When you see that uniform, that's a student.
If you look at this, this one is a student, this is primary school, this is junior secondary school, and this is senior secondary school.
Just like now, when you see a yellow bus, it can only be attributed to a school. It's not a tattoo. It's a school bus.
So
you may be onto something, man.
Yes, throughout the country, All secondary school students, yellow.
Okay, let's
Middle school, purple.
Well, the bus is already yellow, so you confuse us a little bit.
Okay, pink.
So you even stay with the colors of the national flag. You know that all primary school are in green.
Yes.
All secondary school are in red. So green and black, red and black. So we know what we're talking about. Instead of all this business.
This pink thing isn't working.
No, we don't like that.
Pink is not good.
It's good, but in other situations, not school uniform.
You know, the problem here isn't the head teachers. Not really. Head teachers are approached by business people. They know you head the school. They know you have a say on very many things. They know.
Yes.
And even if it's a private school, headmasters, head teachers, headmistresses, they're given autonomy. There are things you decide. And business people will know this. Because if, say, for instance, you're talking about a boarding school, forget the uniform. What about the food that the children eat?
What do you want?
She heard food, she was like, huh? What are you saying? So what about the food, City?
I'm saying that people are, I was giving an example of the food, and I'm saying somebody has to supply it.
Okay.
Unless you're saying that this is a school that has its own farm, so whatever is eaten in the school comes from the school farm.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
But how many schools have that?
Not many.
Not many.
Many of them will buy from somebody.
Exactly. I've been to schools that have farms, yes. But they're not, the parents cannot get whatever it is that the students need at a cost that is not only affordable, but reasonable.
It's reasonable,
yes.
Indeed.
Reasonable.
It's reasonable,
yes.
Indeed.
What we're discussing here is greed. When people now just want to make a lot of money, and it doesn't really matter, they just make a lot of money. So they are following in the footsteps of well-established tradition in this country, where everything must cost several times what its actual cost is. Okay? If it's a road,
for the benefit of the initiator.
Yes, if it's a railway line, if it's a dam, standard, fundamental requirement is you look for a vendor who is willing to charge 3 times what it costs. So now, remember this thing that I keep saying about making a decision and setting in motion certain things. If it is said that this happens at the very top of our leadership in the country, at the very, very top, an example has been set. You set it in motion. Yes. So what do you think is going to happen? But the thing that concerns me the most is the children whom we have in school and our children and what it is that we've introduced as the norm, because children observe. And believe me, as children, they observe and they copy it very, very quickly.
So they're learning this from us.
Yes, but they're seeing us doing it.
Let's ask this question to our audience then. 0719-012-600. Time for you to engage with us. What are your thoughts on this directive by the government issued yesterday, reiterated yesterday by the CS for Trade? It is called the MITI, the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. The Honorable Moses Kuria says, school heads, this business of you telling parents to come and buy uniform from school or to go to specific shops where they can buy a uniform, stop it. Just tell them what is the school uniform. Let the child come to school in that uniform. Where they get it from, none of your business. What do you think about it? Let's hear from you. Let's first take a break. It's 9:30.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Sleepwalking through the afternoon. Sleepwalking through the afternoon. Sleepwalking through the afternoon.
Don't live life on repeat. Enjoy your break moments with Minute Maid Delight, a treat that awakens your senses and fills you with vitality. So fill those break moments with the indulgent sensations of Minute Maid, featuring delicious mango, tropical and apple flavors. Minute Maid, filled with life.
Mchezaji bora duniani anayetarajiwa mwaka huu, Mkenya. Mwimbaji bora anayetarajiwa au mfanyikazi bora wa benki duniani, Mkenya. Mwelekezi bora wa sinema anayetarajiwa, Mkenya. Rais wa taifa anayetarajiwa, mwanasoka bora, mwanariadha bora, daktari bora, rubani bora anayetarajiwa. Nani anayeelekeza script bora? Umepata. Mkenya. Lakini hili linawezekana vipi? Ni rahisi. Hebu fikiria, iwapo Wakenya hawangekuwa na wasiwasi kuhusu bills za hospitali. Hii leo, kikwazo kikuu kutofaulu ni huduma za afya, kwa sababu pesa ambazo zingetumika kufuata ndoto zako hutumika kununua dawa. Lakini ukiwa na Universal Healthcare kutoka NHIF kwa shilingi 500 pekee kila mwezi, Wakenya wote wanaweza kumudu huduma za afya. Hili litaanza ikiwa wewe mwenye uwezo wa kulipa utaanza kulipa, ili familia yako na Wakenya ambao ndoto zao zimekwama waanze kuota tena. Mkenya mmoja maarufu alisema, all dreams are valid. Hii ni kweli. Ikiwa hujajisajili kama memba wa NHIF, tembelea kituo cha NHIF ama huduma center yote nchini. Bonyeza *155# kujisajili au download My NHIF app kwa Google Play na Apple Store. UHC NHIF Super Cover. Sasa sote tuko sawa.
UHC Super Cover na NHIF.
All right, sunny conditions in Nairobi at 20. We'll see highs of 27. 29 will be the high in a sunny Nakuru at 21, and it's 15 and sunny in Nyeri, highs of 27. We'll see highs of 26 in Eldoret, where it's sunny at 18. The sun is up at 29 in Mombasa and 27 in Malindi. 25 and sunny conditions through Kisumu, going to highs of 30, and we'll see highs of 32 in Kakamega. It's a cloudy morning in Kampala, highs of 28, and we'll see mostly cloudy conditions at 28 in Dar es Salaam, going to highs of 32. It's 21 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 28, and mostly sunny at 25 in Lagos, going to highs of 33. It'll go to highs of 29 in Kinshasa, where it's cloudy at 26. It's now -6, but the sun is up in Beijing into early evening Wednesday. -4 will be the high, and lows of -13. 1 degree and cloudy in Paris, going to highs of 3, and we'll see highs of 5, where it's 0 and cloudy in London. 3 degrees and mostly cloudy in New York Tuesday night, still coming into Wednesday. We'll see highs of 6 and lows of 3.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, looking a lot better in most parts of the city this morning. It looks good. We're seeing that folks are using the service lanes on the Thika Superhighway. But then let's look at that whole issue of what's going on between Gong Road, from coming in from Naivasha Road, Riara Road, Dennis Sprit, Ole Tok Tok. It's an absolute mess. The lights are not working, so cops are trying to get that traffic moving. But then it's a mess through to Gitanga Road, and all of this inside there, James Gishurum, Zimmer Springs, out towards Wayaki Way. Looks like it might be that way for some time because of that confusion. So if you're coming in from Lavington, you might want to use an alternate route, because that one is a bit messy, at least for now. Should be opening up in a short while. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter through the morning.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM,
Okay, let's hear
Nairobi.
from you. 0719-012-600. The government has basically come in and said there's a circular from the Education Ministry that tells school heads to stop this habit of demanding that parents go to specific shops to buy school uniform. And also the Ministry of Trade is saying the same thing. We've got to break down this cartel. So it's just gotten to a point where it's become bad manners. School heads and some suppliers colluding so that there is exclusivity in the supply of uniform from somewhere. Now, what do you think about this? How about even we go into those other extents of saying, how about you just standardize all uniform? Maybe even per county then, if you want to change. Schools in X county, this is the uniform. Schools in the other county, this is the uniform. Or all schools countrywide.
Per county looks like a different, because it just looks like there's too much of a mess for you to handle one to the other.
Yeah.
And so that if you're going to change, If you're changing from, tier to tier, all we're saying is introduce trousers or introduce a jacket.
Yes.
But in terms of changing the whole thing, it's not going to happen. Perhaps it's time it became standardized, because the hell that people have to go through to find the uniform or to find the one supplier who has, access to everything is becoming more and more expensive. You're paying school fees of 40,000 shillings, but then you're buying uniforms, the whole set, worth half the amount, 21,000 shillings uniform, because it's only one person who can provide, or you buy from the school. Are you kidding?
Imagine.
The thing though, that is positive about this whole story, at least the uniform is there. You actually buy the uniform. It actually exists. So this small issue of the cost.
Small?
Yes.
As opposed to?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
You see, we are worried about extortion.
Yes.
Parents are being extorted.
Yes.
Parents are paying more than they should pay. That's really the heart of this discussion, is it not?
It is.
Yes. Because if the same structure existed and the fees were, say, 50% less, would we still have the same problem?
No.
If it costs 50% less, would it?
Cheaper. It's cheaper.
Yes.
50% cheaper than?
Yes, then
And
what it's costing now,
currently is.
would we have a problem?
You wouldn't have so much of an issue with it if it was cheaper. But the thing is also, you're seeing the gradual increment of this thing year to year. That's the issue. That the uniform itself has not changed. Maybe your kids have grown a tad, right? But then you're going to buy the same thing that you bought it for last year, and they've added some 3,900, 4,500 shillings on top of the same thing you are buying.
Yeah.
And then you're being told you can only get it from X place or come and buy it from the school. That's the problem.
And then they keep adding now various other... Remember that when you had the conversation about school fees last year? We're having a conversation about, this one is pull neck because it's cold area this year.
And t-shirt. Then the one with the collar, like the guys who play polo,
games.
You must have that one. There's games kit, then there's shorts, and then there's the sweat pants. And for crying out loud.
That actual school fees alone is over 30,000 shillings. Not school fees. School uniform alone is over 30,000 shillings.
And they
because
say
of the various
bring
things.
2 sets of each. For goodness sake.
You're saying 2.
Then they tell you the games kit
4.
socks. The games kit socks is different from the
different
uniform
from-
socks.
Yes.
Oh.
And then if you're in a boarding school, what you're wearing, you have to have the home.
And there has to be weekend
whatever
wear.
thing.
There's weekend uniform. Hey, let's hear from Robert in Nandi. Robert.
Hi.
Mambo namna gani?
Mimi iko mzuri na nyinyi?
Sisi iko
sawa.
Daddy kabisa.
Sisi iko kabisa.
Haya, nashukuru mumeongea vizuri. Let me just go straight to, I think there's some lack of people to think, because you need to offer solutions and understand the kind of economy that we do have right now. But then the entrepreneurs here are out to change things to be able to get an opportunity to introduce their own. You see, but solutions are primary school and senior. It's such a simple thing, Mkubwa. Why don't you just change the one for lower secondary, give them long sleeve shirts or blouses. Na wale wa lower primary, wabaki na ile uniform walikuwa nayo.
Wabaki na kinyasa.
As you graduate, you wear trousers.
Not trousers. Just introduce long sleeve shirts or blouses. Yeah, for the one in where? In
and a different color tie.
Yeah, that is so simple. Or even mark them, because all you need to do is wapatie tu baji maandikwa this is lower primary. And that thing costs 100 bob.
Yes.
And then patch it as a what? As that kamfuko on the chest. So when you are telling a parent who is not even able to raise school fees, I don't know, a uniform you over 10,000. I mean, where are we really heading, Mkubwa? Yeah, so that's some of these things. That is why we miss Magoha. God rest his soul in peace. Yeah. He would offer simple solutions for simple things. Like in hapa, we are complicating everything. Mara kidogo, we need the old uniform for the police. Mara kidogo, we need a new branding for primary schools, so that somebody can just give out a contract for what? Renaming of schools. Why do we want to complicate life? And these are just simple things.
Complicate life at an expense.
Yeah, and you're complicating life at an expense on poor people. Expensing on poor people. Afadhali watu are rich. It's so hurting that you are telling somebody who hawezi akarei school fees kwamba for your child to join school, it is courtesy of a school uniform. Sisi wengine tulipitia mguu bwana bila shoes na tukasoma. Why would you want to complicate life for people who are already poor? Yeah, let's just look for simple. Hata kanisani, everybody puts on white. Lakini unaweza jua ile jeshi la wokovu anawekanga S hapa. And you just know this one is jeshi la wokovu. Why would you want to go? Ai, ndugu yangu. Anyway, wacha tusini serikali ni hao. Wacha watufanye chenye wanataka kufanya. Asanteni.
Thank you very much. 0719-012-600. Tony says, tuambiwe uniform, tununue material, tuende Kenyatta Market, tushoneshe.
What is the color? How is it supposed to be? You want trouser? You want shirt? You want tie? It's okay. How many do you want?
Karaja.
Eric.
How are you?
I'm very fine, Eric.
Yes, sir.
Yes, how are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Now, I'm very fine, Duoko. I normally send you some message each and every time.
Is that so?
Maybe when I have time, if you see somebody called Samuel Karaja, I'm the one Karaja of Naivasha.
Ah, you're the one.
Where do you Samuel, eh?
Yeah, you Samuel Karaja. You know, my face keep on smiling.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Hiya.
Yes.
Karaja. What do you think about this school uniform story?
I think this is cartels. The government now is talking about cartels. I think what they are saying is that uniforms should be bought in schools. I think this is where these people they are getting money. You know, if you go outside, for instance, you can buy a trouser for 750. But when they fix you in school, you buy it at 1,000 plus. The same case happened to the Purova. The same case happened to this, what we call the sports kit or anything else. So to me, I think what they should do, they should do whatever our trade minister said yesterday. They should keep off from this biashara ya kuuza nini, these uniforms. I think this is where they get money. The school teacher, the school's principals, and even the school itself, they collude with the businessmen. And then they say, let us bring this so that we can have this. Each and every time it is like hospitals. If you go to hospital, you'll be told, go to certain chemistry and buy this medicine. This is where you can get a good medicine. You know, you call out Aisharini, my friend. Yeah, this is what they are. This is how they get their money.
So you support Moses Kuria, the new directive by Moses Kuria?
Yes, I fully support the direction by the Moses Kuria because this is where wanaichi ataponea, my friend. Yeah.
Safi. Thank you very much, Karanja.
Thank you very much, Eric.
Have a good day. Lynette in Nairobi.
Yes, morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very fine, thank you.
Yeah.
I think probably this directive by the CS can be taken a bit further because there are people who are making uniform at, let me say, at a friendlier price, and these would be who the government had termed as hustlers, who they want to support. And I think it's an open secret that they're doing this, especially in Uhuru Market, which is off Jogoo Road. So how can the government support such people better? Because they're just moving it from the schools who are making money to the private enterprises who are very happy that now the uniforms is going back to them. So the thinking, I think, can be expanded to support a larger group.
How would this support a larger group while maintaining what the school heads would argue is the need to have standard uniform?
Uniformity, pun intended. I think, really, all it has to be is have a standard source for fabrics and all, and a guide on your color scheme and all. Of course, we don't want the children looking like, some looking professional, others looking like clowns. So it can be thought through, really. We won't thrash out this idea on phone, but it can be thought through better. Because all it will end up being is Lynette and Eric having businesses where we'll then charge 500 shillings less on a blazer, but 100 shillings more on pants. And again, we have not benefited the end user, which is the parent, who is really suffering for this.
That's true.
And then empower those guys those tailors who are really, all they have is their machine, and they need to eke out a living.
Yep.
So
And they're
it
really
can be
good,
worked
seems.
through better and support them.
Yeah.
So the whole supply chain can be worked through by the ministries.
Asante. Thank you, Lynette.
Karibu.
Good day. Solomon in Mombasa.
Eric, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, man. How you been?
I've been good.
Good to hear from you.
I want to support partly and disagree partly
Okay.
on the most curious statement. One, some uniform you cannot get, or the materials is very hard to find.
What?
So let me finish.
Okay.
Yeah?
Eric, let the man speak.
Let me finish.
Endelea.
So sometimes when the school offers this uniform, it's for you to weigh. Is it cheaper outside? Because even the school will give you a convenient. Sometimes they give even the market rate outside there.
Yeah.
Almost the same.
Yeah.
If we want to support the hustler down there, what makes you think these uniform are not being handled by the person downside there? I'll give you an example. Where my kids go to school, the person who does the uniform is a guy I know. Yeah? He's a hustler, typically a hustler, completely. And they are tailors who used to work for EPZ and then they started their own shops. So they're given and they do it for the school. Because you don't have these large companies that does uniform. Maybe for the sweaters, yes. But for the trousers, you find small, but they collect them together.
Okay.
On partly, yes, Moses Kuria was right, but sometimes wrong. Then I wonder my question, these are CS for trade. What is it doing with education matters? The other day he talked about agriculture. He should stick to his lane.
He's protecting investment and trade.
Of textiles.
You see, when it comes to textile business, if it's about textile business you want to protect, why did they remove the uniform for police from NYS to importing them?
Yeah, it's being imported.
Yes, currently they're being imported. Check the dailies, They removed from the NYS and now they're importing. They say, though, there's a cartel that is doing what. You see, when these people talk about cartels, for example, let me say on the president's side, this person has been in government since 1997, since I was a toddler. He knows how government works. So he says cartel, they know them by name. So why do they fail to mention them? The reason why they don't mention them is because they eat with them. So even when you hear things are being cancelled, they want to cancel what the previous regime had put in place, then they put their own people. Because even if the uniform issue is, there are people who won't pick up that business. Because, for example, look at Magoha. The population of Magoha is how many kids?
About 1,400.
They're all 2,000. The whole school, they're almost 2,000.
Yes.
So if you supply sweaters, you need an organization that's able to deliver those kind of stuff. Yes.
Thank you, Solomon. Good day. Anthony in Kisumu.
Good morning, gentlemen and ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
And a happy new year.
Happy New Year to you.
Sir.
I fully support what the CS for Trade is doing. One, schools have become centers of money minting from parents. We don't dispute, I'm a parent, we don't dispute paying tuition, paying caution, paying all those type of money. But the point is, after that directive, what next? In law, they usually say that an offense in law, in the penal code, has to have a penalty. If you steal, you are jailed for 2 years. Now, if a principal of school A in Kisumu County or Nairobi decides to sell the uniform despite that directive, what will happen? So it's still hot here. Nothing will happen. It's just a directive. We've received several directives. No development fee, parents still pay. No tuition fee, parents still pay. And the directive is there, even from the toughest Magoha, may his soul rest in peace. Now, for Moses Kuria to say that, one is protecting, and the uniform being sold at the school, they also come from these traders. So it's just maybe taking from Paul to pay Peter. But it could be fun, it could be more fun if a penalty was given. If a principal is found doing this, and that he can't do because he can't control education. That's a different ministry. So him together with the CS for education they come up and say, to protect traders, uniform must be bought from outside. And then the CS of Education say, as a policy, if you are found violating a government directive, we'll take you to Nyambaria Secondary School, where the school will perform and parents will donate.
Yeah.
On a light note, you guys have a good day.
You too, Anthony.
Cheers, Anthony.
Enoch in Kiambu.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
I fully support this statement by CS. For one, it eliminates eating by a few. Because most of these schools, yes, it eliminates the eating by a few. You know, if every student goes out and buys a uniform, you'll buy it from any shop, so long as it matches the color or where the school where you are. But if it is controlled by a few in a school, is only one person, like the school where I were, it was only one person who was controlling. So I think either the principal or some teachers, you can say, they collude with the supplier. Actually, it's a cartel within the schools. And I've taken my son to school severally, and you go there and you are told this tie looks like this. They find a way of even exploiting the parents on expense of...
So they say that you've brought the wrong tie.
Yeah, the wrong tie, simply because they want
wide,
to...
Too thin.
Too black.
Yes, you buy. It's sort of collaboration between the supplier and the school. So I think it's a good thing. That's how I see it.
If you open it up, Enoch,
yes,
how do you ensure uniformity?
I think you just need to say, if it is white, it's white.
Which
if
white?
It is
off-white, cream white, white, lightning white. You see the problem?
you give an example. Either you send. There are things which you do, like for some people who deal in colors. Some are deal with colors, and you are told. For instance, you are planning an event. You are told this is the color. We plan and you get it right.
Hey, oh my
yes.
goodness. The two gentlemen in this room find specimens of what would counter that thing that you have just said.
Dude, this is what I do when I'm not in class. And I get, yes, I actually...
You deal in color.
I plan for events.
Yes. When you tell people the dress code is a certain color.
Orange even.
Is
even
orange. Do they come in the same orange?
You just need to send a sample. Like now, when you are admitting students, you need to send. It can actually have a mark in the letter. This is the orange we need.
Can I ask you the question? Even if you send the example, have you ever encountered a situation where somebody comes with their version of the orange which you sent?
Did you receive the sample? They say yes.
Yes.
But see, this is it.
I agree with you. Muga, there are people who do not know colors. That one I agree with you.
It's not even that. Sometimes it's because of the availability. So yes, you sent me a certain, sample for the color, and you told me the event will be this color. When I go to my fundi does not have that material in that specific color, but they have it in this other color, and I don't have time. All the other fundis that I've gone to, from this shop to the next shop to the next shop, they all have different shades of that color. So what do I do? I pick on a shade.
But for those who have gone to the rural schools, Eric, there were no supplies of these uniforms, and we used to have the colors right. And you'll go to the shop and you buy, not necessarily from that shop. And also, it gives the parent the freedom to negotiate. This one, you have no negotiation. It is 1,000, is 1,000. Whether you either pick or you go home with your son. Yeah.
Enoch, thank you.
Thank you.
Good to
Have
hear
a good
you
day.
this year. Have a good one.
But
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
This conversation is incomplete if we don't look at something else that is also determined and is necessary and a must with school learning. Books.
Same thing.
Same thing with books.
Yes.
Then people
And why
start
aren't
asking
we raising
questions.
an issue with books? Because that one now...
See, the issue is being raised. It's just that maybe we're not talking about
But
it now.
remember, so books. Okay, there are several levels of book on when it comes
On
to
issues
books.
regarding books, yes.
Because publishers are first of all passed by the KICD. So the KICD will say these are the publishers and these are the books that we're going to use. Now the issue is the bookshop to buy the specific book from.
You know, bookshop
Or
is
is it
a
a
retailer.
publisher?
They're just an outlet. Them, I don't even have a problem with them. If you take a sample of the books that we have, even with these new systems, and you look at the books with reference to the content, and you ask yourself, okay, we have a new system. What has really changed in the content?
Let me give you an example. They'll tell you that in Kiswahili you should bring kielekezi cha KCPE. They will tell you to bring Kiswahili made familiar. They will tell you to bring sarufi za msingi. They will also tell you to bring kichecheo cha insha. That is just Kiswahili.
All those books have been passed by the KICD.
Exactly.
Now that's
so
the
now
thing.
the thing for parents is is it necessary for you to have all of them?
The KICD has said yes.
KICD say you should bring them all. Now that's the question.
Okay, now, surely, do you really need them all?
Do you need them all?
Is it possible to have
all those that I've mentioned is
Kielekezo is not the other one. What was that? The first one was what?
It's different from your course text.
Kielekezo was what?
Kielekezi cha KCPE.
Yeah, that is examples of KCPE papers, past
Mind
papers.
you,
The
this
next
is
one?
different from the course text.
Next.
Kiswahili made familiar.
See, that is different.
No, Eric. Why is it that each of these books, why can they not represent a chapter in one book? All these things, kielezo, usieleze, wedembele, why can they not be representations of chapters in a book? Why
So you
must they
want-
be an entire book? No.
Because City, you're the one who came up with the idea. Let's say you're a publisher and you came up with the idea of kielekezo cha KCPE. All right, you applied to KICD. When the KICD officers are actually looking at these books, they don't even know who the publisher is. They're just looking at the material, and they say this material makes sense. And then they look at different materials.
So this one also makes sense.
This one makes sense. Now let's license these three.
So
Just
when
on
they're
tax summer,
licensing
they
the
should
three,
then they should
when
now
they're-
call the three publishers and
No,
tell
wait,
them,
no.
now you
When
make
they're
your
licensing-
chapter, you make your
when
chapter,
they're
you make your chapter,
licensing
you
the
publish.
three, are they saying get all three? They're not saying get all three.
What are
They're
they saying?
licensing them. They're not saying that you must get them. The problem is
the school is
will
thinking.
tell you get 4. Meanwhile, there's a course text.
You know, Eric, in government schools, our time is up. But this is how in government schools, the books are supplied. We don't do astrophysics in the school, and yet you can supply for astrophysics books.
It's not funny. Actually, it's not funny. It's a serious thing.
Okay, people, have a good day. We'll be back tomorrow. Thank you for all the calls. Thank you for tuning in to the Situation Room today. Have a lovely day. See you tomorrow. It's now 10 o'clock.